Hello. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And today we have Taylor with us. I know we mentioned it a few episodes ago that we might have a guest, and she was able to come, so thank you, Taylor.
I'm excited to be here.
Taylor is a friend of ours from college. She's a big romantasy girly, just like we are. Yes. And she's also the star of a YouTube series on YouTube from GCU, so go look her up if you want to.
Or don't. Avoid it at all
Please
costs.
do. Please do, actually. So I
think Melissa makes a little cameo in one of those. She's a part of a Bible study in our coffee shop there.
That's to be determined. I can't remember if I did that, but I also can barely remember what I had for lunch earlier this week. So that's not saying much.
Fair enough.
All right, Ellie, go ahead. Take it away.
All right, I have some news from the book world. SJM's third Crescent City book comes out January 30th. So that's super exciting. But what was shocking the book world this week is the little excerpt she posted, and I'll read it to you. Bryce, who's one of the characters from Crescent City, began running again, hurtling through the cave, back towards Nesta and Azrael, and prayed there was something left for her to save. So, without a shadow of a doubt, we have crossed universe.
The Massiverse.
Yeah.
I knew that this would happen.
Not one of us three have read Crescent City yet, but this is very exciting news for us when we do.
Well, we knew that this multiverse would happen, so.
I honestly am genuinely wondering if she was always planning on doing it. She probably was because she's a genius. But if she always was planning on it, or if she just felt so pressured by everyone talking about it happening that she's like, what a great idea, let's do it.
I honestly think she could be an evil mastermind if she wanted to be, because she's just so good at bringing up every single detail. Like, I've never read a book series, other than maybe The Empyrean, where I feel like the author is so in tune with their audience, but then every single minute detail they put into the book, it gets brought back up, which there's a lot I know we'll talk about today as we're talking about Iron Flame that has yet to be addressed, and just because there's so many other books to come, but it's just, I'm so excited to see everything that Sarah J. Maas does.
Me too.
And my thought on the multiverse strictly came from just the fact that I wanted to know where the heck Amryn came from. I'm like, oh,
that's true. Honestly,
from whenever they first talked, I think it was in the second book when they introduced her, that they were talking about we don't even know who she is or where she came from, and then she finally reveals at some point that she came through some fold in the universes, and I'm
also the Bone Carver, right, and his sisters, yes.
Yeah, the Bone Carver, and
she did plan this. I knew it.
She did. She put these little breadcrumbs in there from the very beginning.
She's the witch in Hansel and Gretel.
I'm excited.
I'm gonna need you to hurry through all of Throne of Glass so we can keep talking about this, because I have secrets.
I'm so excited to read Throne of Glass. I'm so excited that that's what you guys are doing next, because that's what I was planning personally to do next. So now I can do it and follow along with you guys. And I don't have to, pester Melissa to do it also on the side of her podcast. So.
Yes. Someone put it perfectly the other day that Throne of Glass is ACOTAR is, romantasy and fantasy, but Throne of Glass is a real epic fantasy where you get multiple perspectives. You're across the world with multiple people. It's very Game of Thrones-esque, and it is a real epic fantasy story, and so it grabs you. It's so good.
I'm so excited because I was texting Melissa, and we have another friend that we've looped into our web of romantasy books.
Yes, specifically ACOTAR.
Specifically ACOTAR. But no, she wants to read the Empyrean series, and she's going to start reading Throne of Glass too. But yeah, I honestly forgot where I was going with my thought there.
We do. We talk about it a lot, and it's a very, I really didn't realize. I bought these books. I may have said this before, I don't know, but I bought the ACOTAR series because Ellie told me it's the best book series she's ever read. And I was super pregnant with my baby, and I was like, oh, this will be something I can read when I'm on maternity leave.
Reading.
First off, what a freaking idiot I was for thinking that I'd
Welcome
be able to
to your
read
new
right
personality.
afterwards. But also, I didn't realize once I did start reading it, the chokehold. My life has completely changed, because now I'm back in the book world. I stopped reading forever. I'm back in the book world now. I loved it so much. We freaking started this podcast because I couldn't stop talking about it. And my husband was getting so sick of me, and probably my family too. I've gotten a lot of people in my family to read it. You guys, well, you were already reading it, but like a lot of our friends, like it literally has changed my circle, like in my world.
No,
it's
seriously.
So crazy.
I remember what I was going to say now. When we were texting earlier this week with our other friend that we've looped into all of it, and I was like, I genuinely don't even know what Throne of Glass is about at all. I'm like,
I've avoided like the plague because I don't want any spoilers.
Exactly.
Go into it like that. That is such a good thing.
I'm so excited that I don't know what it's about because I felt the same way with ACOTAR. I'm like, I knew it was like loosely a spin on Beauty and the Beast, you know, with, you know, it obviously its own twist and everything like that, and it was an adult version. And then I knew kind of the same thing with Throne of Glass and Cinderella. And so that's seriously all I know. And then maybe a couple names of the characters that I've seen thrown out online, but I swear the second any like reel or TikTok pops up, I like you said, avoid it like the plague. I was like, no, I don't want to know anything. So I'm really excited to go into it. And just
Well,
I personally feel like that's the best way to do books, is to not know anything about it and just be shocked and surprised.
Yes.
And now that we've talked a lot about ACOTAR, are you guys ready for the final part of Iron Flame?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
I'm ready, but not ready. We'll see if I cry. I think I won't. I said I would, and I said I wouldn't. I think because I know.
I think you're going to cry.
I don't know. Maybe. I kind of don't want to.
I
hope
you do.
You're going to make me.
I'll make you cry.
With that, our Ellie, Taylor, are you ready?
We're ready.
All right. So we're starting in chapter 51. It opens up with this super sweet moment between Xaden and Violet where she's bringing him cake on the roof. And I remember thinking this was cute the first time I read the book, but then recently I saw a reel that talked about the scene being one of the most underrated in the book, and it really made me think about it more. It brought me back, and I've said this before, I love just how this series in particular, relatable it is. And like that's such a normal thing to do. Bring your boyfriend cake because he's feeling moody and broody on the roof. Like, I mean, maybe not on the roof. That's, I guess, slightly different. I don't know. People hang on the roof. But just the whole thank you, I'm not used to people taking care of me. Get used to it. Ugh. All of that. So, don't remember the username, but you who made that reel that I saw a couple weeks ago, amen. You are right. That is one of the most underrated parts of this series, in my opinion, too.
I feel like this scene also reminded me, and I am terrible. I haven't, I read this book months ago, and I've read multiple books since then, so I'm going to forget the names of certain things. But it reminded me at the end of Fourth Wing when Violet, you know, she left the party. She was drinking their
graduation party.
Yes, and she went out on the little, like, skinny...
The parapet.
Yes, the parapet. And she went out and found him when he was sitting up there and being all broody, you know, Xaden, and went there just to, like, see how he was doing. This really brought me back to that moment, too, because it felt very much like he's in the mood, and I need to go be there with him.
I totally thought that's, like, I just forgot for a second, and I was like, oh, yeah, we're doing Fourth Wing. Like, I remember this scene, and I did not even realize that this was obviously Iron Flame, and this was a whole different scene.
Xaden actually even references that in this part of the book. He even says, what did I tell you about, I'm loosely paraphrasing, but, like, what I tell you about risking your life just to come and talk with me or something, because he mentions that when they're on the parapet in the last book. But I don't know. I liked it. And then for the first time, we see Xaden become defeated, talking about the Wyvern and how they don't have enough people and how they aren't going to last like much longer. And this all should have happened 50 years ago. All these things. And it was sad because he's not optimistic, don't get me wrong, but he's always like, we'll figure it out. And then this time we see him be human and he's like, this is it. Like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
But then Violent Dane...
Wait, real quick. Do you ever believe them when they're like, yeah, we can't do this? Like, do you think that they're going to have to find a workaround or like...
If they couldn't do this, there wouldn't be 3 more books.
To say, in a fantasy book, no. In real life, yes.
Me too. We can't do this. You're so right. Let's be done.
You're probably right. That sounds really hard. Let's just not.
How much do you want to bet they'll let us pack in Navarre and
that's literally Gaiath? That's not in reference to some battle. That's in reference to me going to work the next day.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can't do this.
This feels like a lot.
I already have a lot on my plate, so I'm just gonna have to say no to this one.
Yeah.
They're just talking about, battling mythological creatures that aren't mythological, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, on
but
that
I don't
note,
believe
though,
him when he says it.
What if someone like in real life was like, "Oh my God, there's Wyvern, there's Venom," like all like I too would look at them and be like, "What are you on, and where can I get some? Because you're not in this reality."
See, I would instantly go, Jesus, take me now. I'm done here.
That's me. I would want to stick around with this clown show. Goodbye.
Like, can you pick me up? I'm ready to come home now. Like,
all right. Well, then Violet and Dane are working on retranslating the journal, and Dane goes to sleep, but Violet realizes the symbol that they were using for blood is actually breath, which makes her realize that the 6 that Violet O'Rourke was referencing wasn't riders, but it was actually dragons. So she goes directly to Rhiannon's room, and this is whatever. She goes directly to Rhiannon's room and tells her, I know how to raise the wards. I just am not entirely sure that we should. At that point, if you remember, Taylor, did you know why she said that? Like at this point in the book? Because I remember when I was reading it, she's like, I don't know if we should. And I'm like, why not, Violet?
that's how I do.
I'm also, I forget so easily, like so many things that happen. So I'm not surprised a lot of times at myself when authors will reference back to things that I don't pick up on it. And then it's like a big revelation later. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have seen that coming. And I just didn't. But again, it's because I forget everything. So did you realize, or was this just like same thing? No, why, Violet?
I felt that way. I feel like I can be really good at picking up on like small things. Like anytime I have a question, I usually like a nerd open up a note on my phone and jot it down. So I'm like, I want to remember this. I want to come back to this. Oh yeah, literally when you were like, you want to come on my podcast? I'm like, let me just pull up the note I already have saved from when I read this 3 months ago or whenever it came out. But but yeah, no, this is one that like I went back through my notes because I was like, oh, why shouldn't they raise the wards, know? And I'm like, I didn't have any previous comment that I put down for it, and I was like, okay, Rhi, tell us. Yeah. Tell us. And then I felt kind of confused.
Ellie?
I thought that they were going to have to kill dragons. I've always thought that something about the Wardstone had to, like, led to they'd have to kill a dragon for it. I don't know why. I just did.
Oh, like a sacrifice in order to get it up?
Yes. Like, you know how they're talking about...
I thought a sacrifice, but I didn't know if it would be a dragon or a human.
I thought you meant...
blood. Like, when I said blood at first, I was like...
Right, when it said it has to rain blood, I thought it was going to have to be a dragon's blood. So, and I thought it was going to be Indarna from when I was reading Fourth Wing, so I was already really sad. But then I was like, well, I don't think we're leaning that way. But then when she said, I'm not sure we should, I was like, we're back to it. They're going to have to sacrifice a dragon.
That might be the death that would make me the saddest in this.
That makes sense. I'm like, when you first said, oh, I thought it was going to kill the dragons or whatever, I thought you meant the wards. And I'm like, you dumb idiot. There's wards at Besgaiath and they didn't die.
Okay, I'll try
Ellie
during
never
this.
Suggested.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a little intense. I do apologize.
Just for like different reasons.
Just because I'm being bullied by Melissa.
Just for like... I'm so sorry. In my head, that was going to be hilarious, and I see now it did not land. So I'm so sorry.
So funny.
Did not land. All right, moving on. I apologize. I'm not bullying you, I promise.
It's okay.
So
it's okay.
We learn very fortunately, Rebecca doesn't leave us hanging for too long. We learn fairly quickly into the next chapter that the reason that if they brought up the wards, then the flyers and their griffins wouldn't be able to channel. They'd lose all the little bit of power that they have. Mm-hmm. That I don't understand why that is though. Like I understand wards keep people out, but I don't understand how that affects their ability to channel.
I don't think wards keep people out. The wards keep the power out that aren't.
You're right.
It isn't part of the dragon's power.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, it just cuts out the power of anything else that's not a dragon. So that was my thought on it. That was my understanding.
Yeah, because I think when they put the wards up, there wasn't a thought that there would ever be the griffins and the dragons working together. You know,
that's true.
So I think it was always like they were in opposition of each other. And also, I don't think we know much about when the initial wards went up. We don't know much actual truth about the history of the country or the continent that they're on. So I think that's something that's going to come in the next, couple books. I mean, there's so much to come too, even just like with who the Empyrean are, that it's like I think there's just such a mystery. And then it's going to be an onion. We can just peel back the layers of it all. And I think
that's true.
Rebecca's got a big plan with that. But no, I kind of felt the same way in regards to the words. And I was like waiting for the answer. And I was like almost disappointed. I thought it was like some bigger revelation. I was like,
me too.
Oh, it's just that the griffins and the,
that's true.
What are they called? They're not riders.
The
flyers.
Yeah.
And the flyers lose their power. I was like, oh, that's not that bad.
Well, and honestly, I said this a lot in the last book. I don't really care for the flyers. So them losing their power was the least of my worries. So I was like,
same.
let's raise the wards. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
you and Xaden
out of here.
I don't know. I hate Cat, but
Cat can take a long walk off of a short pier. Not a fan.
You guys, wow. And I'm the bully.
Cat's the bully.
Cat's the bully.
We
can all land there.
That's a redemption arc I don't need.
Amen. Her and Tamlin.
I listened to the last episode, and I'm kind of here for a Tamlin. I don't know if I need a full redemption arc for Tamlin.
I'm not going into this
every
again.
episode we need to revisit that if Tamlin is going to get a redemption.
I think we need
we need.
I don't know if he needs a full redemption arc, but we need more closure. I think we're just like,
I'm good with him being a sad little baby in his mansion.
She's
forever.
SJM is just too smart. She's not going to.
I know she's not going to.
She's not going to just leave him.
That's just where. But I'm good.
She keeps bringing him back for a reason. I mean,
have
if she was done with him, she'd be done with him.
But we're talking Iron.
We're talking Iron Flame, and let's get back to it. So then Violet has another all too realistic quote unquote dream with the Sage, which I will maintain is not a dream.
I'm right with you.
That is not, not for 1 second. If this ever comes back that she legit was dreaming the whole time, I will throw something, because that.
I got theories, dude.
This is similar, like we said, like SJM, she doesn't just say things without looping back to him. This is one of those ones, I swear.
Yeah.
Like, anyways, so that's that
this
on
is
that.
part of my unhinged theories.
I bring this back up again in the end, so let's save your theories for that.
Oh, I will.
Then the squads are in a challenge to see who can get the most runes, because 30 of them are hidden, and to see if their dragons can sense them. Whatever squad wins gets a weekend pass, so they're all about it. And Darna was adamant that she come on the mission, but she wasn't happy when Violet had her hiking down the snow-covered ridgeline with all of them. And her sassiness on this, I mean, we've talked about this, like, next level, especially like through this part of the book. I was like giggling reading Andarna's commentary on everything that was happening, and I just love it even more that Violet was laughing too, because she's the only one who can hear it. So Andarna's just saying crap about Cat, and Violet's trying not to laugh, because then Cat's like, what? like what's happening?
Andarna just said something really nasty about you that I agree with.
It was they said something like she's very confident, and Andarna was like chuffed or whatever, and said more like arrogant, or I don't remember, something along those lines. And Violet's like trying not to laugh or whatever. I'm just in my head when I was picturing it, it was so funny.
How I picture it in Darna through both books. In the first book, she's baby Groot. In this book, she's teenage Groot.
True.
If you watch any of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, 100%.
Because it's just like I'm baby Groot. I'm so cute. Oops, I made a mistake. And everyone's like, oh, but you're adorable. It's okay. And then this time it's just like, I'm Groot. I'm in Darna.
Yeah. When he's like, I am Groot, and everyone's like, watch your language.
Yes, I know, exactly.
That's in Darna.
That is so this. And I was like, there has to be, there's something there. I'm like, she had to have been, I'd love for her to one day come out and be like, I was really inspired by
that
teenage
was
Groot.
The perfect reference for Ellie, because she's obsessed with Marvel. So
I am. And I've
as
said
am
it
I.
before, and I'll say it again. SJM is the Kevin Feige of the book world. The way the details and the chronological order and everything, the universes are combining, they're both just insane geniuses. This is what I live for it.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Well, then also the banter between all the girls, Vissia, Kat, Salone, and Violet, is, I love it. I love like everything that they go through. Kat is still annoying as crap, at least in the beginning, but I love that Salone, I might be wrong here, but I know Salone has been like better since they left Bisgayeth, but I feel like she also just hasn't been a part of the story much either. So she's kind of back in it, and I like that she is being she's like also like defending Violet. It's not just like, oh, she's being nice to her. They're like, they feel like they're on a team now.
Yeah.
And just because I miss Liam, I'm glad that that's where it was.
Point. I feel like it was a turning point in the relationship in this chapter.
It was.
Sure.
Friends get together when there's someone to hate together.
Amen, though, honestly. That's real life and in fantasy books.
Then maybe I do like Kat, because Kat brought them together, and I really wanted to like slow them from the beginning.
No.
Exactly.
I mean, if we're going to talk about that, then I love Varish because he brought Dane and Violet back together.
Ew.
And exactly, can't even say that. So but we also, like I said, eventually get to see Kat be a little bit even just like a human too, which I was grateful at this point, because I have, between Varish and her so far in this book, I'm over hating people. I'm just ready for everyone to sing Kumbaya and be friends. Vissia asks Violet if she is going to get a second Signet because she has 2 dragons, and Salone goes on about how you can only get a second Signet if your dragon bonded someone in a direct familial line. But there's also just as equal of a chance of you like going mad. And I didn't notice this the first time around when I read it, but the second time I realized that Violet started to think in her head, like, wait, that can't be right, because then that would mean
I have something to say.
Say it.
I
out loud.
had no idea what they were talking about during this. So much so that I probably reread this 15 times and went back a couple pages and went forward a couple pages and back again, because I thought this was so juicy, but I couldn't figure out what she was figuring out. And I thought I was missing it. I thought I was the dumb idiot. I could not figure it out. And then I just let it go and read on angry.
Well, there was even like, I remember like the second she said this, it took me back to, I think it was in Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest.
No, it was Fourth Wing.
Okay, I was gonna say, between the part 1 and part 2 of Iron Flame, I get really confused with what was in what book, because I also devoured both so fast.
Yeah.
But so it was in Fourth Wing when they talked about that Xaden got the his grandfather's dragon too, and so like just the way like Violet's brain starts spinning, too, and then I even started thinking, like, you know, Taryn was the dragon of Brendan's friend. I'm forgetting his name.
Naolin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who had and so my brain just started spinning and like all the possible like things that could be happening, because nothing is said without it being a breadcrumb to something else. Like,
exactly.
Like, you're not going to give detail on some random, you know, nuance within their magical realm without it actually coming back into play later. So yeah, no, I was just like, my brain instantly started spinning. I was like, that's random. That's weird.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
That came out of nowhere. Hold
on. But then, so she's thinking that, then Salone cuts in, and then all within like 7 sentences, Solas pops out of nowhere, kills Vissia, just goes whoop, done.
I wasn't expecting that.
I was not prepared for like
these quick kills that Rebecca throws in throw me for a loop.
I was that annoying person reading this book in public going, like, I'm reacting so dramatically to my book, like I'm like it's either happening to me in front of me or I'm watching something, and I'm like, I was in the car with my family driving home from Thanksgiving, and my dad's like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. This dragon just killed another dragon.
This dragon traveled through their secret cave that no one uses anymore, and then trying to kill her.
Yeah, and I honestly think his exact reply to me was, "You're 27 years old, Taylor." I said, "Leave me alone, fair. David." No. Let me live in my fantasy world.
So you also have Ellie's superpower of being able to read in a car, and I'm very jealous because I cannot.
Oh. I'm sorry about that.
I get like instant car sickness.
I look forward to car rides now where I'm not driving, because then I'm like, I can get so much
even when I am driving, I can read.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm so skilled at reading and driving.
I feel like it's rare when I drive in the daytime, because obviously I'm working,
Oh,
so anytime I'm in the car riding passenger princess, it's too dark, and then I get upset because I'll try to turn on the light, and Grant's like, "That's illegal. Turn it off."
That's why you peasant, you need a Kindle backlight.
Oh.
Anyways.
Oh, move on.
So then Andarna saves them all by wrapping her wings around them when Solas is breathing fire. I thought Violet's idea to use her broken conduit to channel directly into Solas was genius. I was like not expecting that at all.
That was when I had to reread because I was like, hold on, wait,
I know,
what did she just do?
I know,
Me
it took me a second. I had to go back
that.
because I'm like, wait, hold on. It all happened so fast that I was
Yes.
like, pause. I need to, like, if this was a TV show, I'd like rewind. I need to see this again and I need to pay more attention.
Slow motion. Yes.
But I literally, like, obviously, oh gosh, I can't even say how many times I've said this. I'm not a writer. Like, and I never will be, and that's fine. I don't need to be. I can enjoy other people's writings. But I think that's why I am, combination of how quickly I forget things and just how easily shocked I am the perfect audience for these books because I'm like, wow, I would not have guessed that was going to happen.
What did the riddle mean? I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, same.
Love?
I know. The easiest answer of all? No way. Couldn't have been.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thought it was genius. I thought it was, I had such a good visual in my head of what it looked like, and I loved it.
Yeah. It was an awesome battle scene. I loved it too.
Me too. Then Andarna latches onto Solas in between, like, the neck and shoulder, and Violet is slammed into the wall, and she feels someone pulling her back, and she looks up, and she sees the icy blue eyes, and she goes, Liam. And I got so excited, because I'm like, he's back. Again, I mentioned this before. Too. I know it's one of yours, like, unhinged theory about her second Signet, but then it's not, and that's actually what I loved even more. She realizes it was Sloane. And again, just brings me back to why I'm so excited that they're close again, or close now, because it's
what Liam wanted.
Yeah, it's what he wanted. It's what he asked for.
Sweet
well, he didn't ask
Liam.
her to be friends with him. He just asked Violet to save her. But I bet he's looking fondly over this friendship because he loved Violet and he loves his sister. And I'm glad they're friends. Kat and Sloane drag her back out of the cave, but Andarna stays to fight Solas, and they hear a dragon scream, and I was literally like, there's absolutely no way Andarna's dead. So that part, I don't know, it did not freak me out even a little bit. And I was right, because Taryn right away confirms that she's alive.
Good old Taryn.
But Sloane freaks out, and she starts saying that she drained Violet, but I'm going to need your guys's, I don't know if you even remember this or not, but I want your thoughts on this because I like reread this part even a handful of times, and I cannot pinpoint the moment when Sloane felt like she drained Violet's
I think
power.
It says it clearly. Like, she grabs Violet and Violet like felt power coming out of her or something like that.
I mean, maybe I just kept, but I kept rereading this, and I didn't go back far enough. This is 54. Maybe I just didn't go back far enough, but I felt like I reread this situation a couple of times, and I'm like, I'm missing it here. When did Violet, or when did Sloane feel like that happened? Because she didn't say anything until
that wasn't something that
after Andarna comes out with like killing Solas. So she didn't mention it until it's over. This is probably like midway through the chapter. I don't know. If you don't, it's not that big of a deal if you don't remember, but I was just like,
well, it does say, I guess I didn't think too much about it, but so I don't know if you're reading like a physical book. Yeah. It's page 507. And so this is
like
Violet.
A Bible study.
I know. She's, you can tell that I go to Bible studies.
Yeah. Turn to chapter 54.
Verse.
Yeah. 507. Halfway down the page.
Yes. So it's Violet speaking, and she screams Andarna, I claw at Sloane's grip, but the harder I fight, the weaker I feel, and the insufferable heat of my power lessens as Sloane starts to scream, letting me fall to the ground.
Dang, and then we need to hear more.
Honestly.
And then Taryn screams, Silver One.
Okay.
So then Taryn seems like he's freaking out.
Because he can feel her power. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I could see how you could have been confused because
you could have just been like, so much was happening. I was just like, who's screaming? Well, like obviously I know who is, but I'm like, what? I picture everything like a movie, but when things happen this fast, it happened for me. I think this is probably why partially why I like the romance aspects of books a little bit more than like the fighting is because my brain tries to like visualize everything, and when so much is going on at the same time, I have a really hard time keeping up, so I miss things.
Yeah.
Because my brain can't keep up with everything that's happening.
This is why you need to take a page out of the old Ellie's reading pace and go slow
down.
No.
Reread, flip back, your leisurely pace.
My leisurely pace is so much faster than yours.
Just like my leisurely pace is reading 5 books at once. So.
Yeah. No, I can't do more than one book at a time. Let me tell you.
Melissa, I could
Coffee
see
at midnight.
She doesn't sleep, remember?
Exactly. That's why I miss things, because
Yes.
I'm not well rested.
I could see how if you're reading that though, like Violet is so worried about Andarna and if she's okay. So like you could think like I did read it as like for some reason like I'm like, why is the power coming out of her? Why did she feel weaker? But I could see you reading that as
she
like
also just got hit in the head.
But she was also so worried and she was injured, so she felt weak because of that. So if like then Sloane's like, oh my gosh, I just drained your power, you'd be like that would be a very natural like human response to something of like your fear of somebody you love is like injured or dead. You yourself are injured. Of course, you're gonna all of a sudden feel weaker and all these things. So I could see why you were confused.
Thank you. Sure. I think I was so wrapped up in her just getting like WWE smackdown into the wall, and so that I was like not even realizing when Sloane was screaming. I just was like, it's because she's going in and out of consciousness and she's feeling weaker because of that makes so much more sense. Like, Thank you. I'm glad I brought this up.
The insane part of this chapter is that it's literally 6 pages long.
That's so true.
Like I mean, that's not the entire scene of them in the cave, but it's like the very end of the chapter before this is like Solas found us, and then all of this stuff happens within 6 pages. Yeah, and I don't even know if it's like 6 pages because I think it's 4 of that because there's a break within the chapter, and then all of a sudden they're back. Or Xaden. Anyway, continue on with your. It genuinely so much happened.
Her most intense battles, even like the very end battle, it's such a short chapter. Like it just everything.
So much happens
so
on
quick.
those pages.
Yes.
Yes. I still. Oh, we'll talk about it.
God gives his toughest battles to his toughest soldiers.
Amen, sister.
All right. So, but then my favorite part of this chapter, this very short chapter, is after they realize that Andarna's fine, he's dead, everything, and she walks out, and Taryn just looks at her and goes, Slayer. And then that's when it breaks into the next part. But I was like, Amen, Slayer, Slayer, Slayer. Like, we do love Andarna, and I love that nickname for her. So then after they get back, Xaden and Violet, shocker, are fighting about her saving Cat because Xaden thinks that she's being reckless when all he's trying to do is keep her safe and respect her freedom. But Violet makes a comment about getting confused between keeping her safe and just not letting her die, which then he goes, that's it. You're finally ready to ask me about the deal I made with your mother. And I really thought, I realize now after doing this outline and rereading the chapters that we weren't. But because he hadn't brought up the question thing in a while, I was like, great, we're done with these stupid ask me questions or I'm not going to tell you anything. And then I realized in this moment that we were not done with them and I got irritated.
I also thought that we were kind of done with this topic in general. It feels tired. Like I know Violet thought about it a lot and it bothered her, but I was like, I'm so exhausted with this. We can just not talk about it and move on at this point. I felt like I was resolved. So when he brought it up, I was like, oh, we're not resolved.
I think resolved in the sense that it was buried under the rug and never addressed, and we all forgot about it because so many other things happened.
Human process my life.
Oh, exactly. Same here. My very unhealthy way of processing: just bury it, never address it. You're fine.
It works
AKA
out great. Try
resolved.
it sometime, Violet.
I don't need therapy,
and then blow up in 3 years about it.
Exactly. Hold
Come
a grudge
on, Violet,
forever,
let's do
but then
like
never say
people.
why.
So
we need help.
And honestly, I don't know. This is going to be my one of probably many hot takes this episode. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It makes sense to me. Like, I think Violet is thinking, in my opinion, my humble opinion, she's thinking too much into this as far as like, their whole relationship is based on this deal that her mom made with him. Yeah, it is. And you're lucky it is because...
And then he fell in love with you. What'd he do? I mean, congrats. He's really awesome.
You got Zaddy. Let's just be grateful for this deal that your mom made and move on. Like, the deal didn't force him.
The last episode of how, like, it just wasn't, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago, but it just, like, wasn't a big deal. And even so, it's not like she forced him to fall in love with Violet. Like, that just happened. And so now your life is great. Are we going to complain that was, like, more?
To the mom's dismay. Like, she didn't want that to happen. She's like, oh my gosh, are you joking? You actually fell in love? Ugh, gross. Not you.
Yeah.
Like the really, son of the rebel, like, of all people. Yeah. So,
and honestly, if Violet, and Xaden even says this in a couple chapters, but, like, if Violet's mom didn't make this deal, she'd be dead. She'd wake up dead, as a wife of crime says, because he wouldn't have even let her live long enough to fall in love with her. So, again, thank you, General Sorrengail, for making this deal. Let's move forward.
Moving on.
But moving on, because we do have to address it in the next chapter.
You're right.
Violet was shocked that he knew that she knew. Which
they don't
you
know
that
I know. We know.
Oh my gosh.
Twins. Exactly. And then Xaden says that all she had to do was ask and he'll tell her everything. But I will say I loved Violet claps back and says that she asked him about this last year, about his scars, and he conveniently left out the fact that her mom gave them to him. Mm-hmm. He just said it was because he was protecting. Well, and but that's why he says he didn't offer up the information because he knew she'd find a way to blame it on herself. But, like, I'm thinking and this is real life, if my zaddy boyfriend told me that, I knew that I said that because I knew it would bother you.
She doesn't like zaddy?
No, she hates it. It makes her uncomfortable.
Zaddy.
Bye.
My connection's breaking up.
Everyone.
If he said that to me in real life, I would get mad because I'm like, what a cop-out. You just are saying that now. But, I mean, I do think he had good intentions at the time. Yeah.
It's helpful that we occasionally get to be inside his mind as the reader where we're like,
true.
He's just perfect.
I know.
I guess if somebody in real life said that was, like, keeping things from me, I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Well, but then they keep fighting. And I'm admitting this is a personal problem, but I was moderately confused at this point in the conversation when they kept bringing up, like, the armoire analogy. It made sense when she first brought it up with Imogen earlier in this book, but now that then Xaden, he's like, okay, yeah, I can work with this, and Violet's like, what? And he's like, what's in the armoire? And then they just, like, keep talking about it. Was the mom's blanket actually in there?
So out of
remind me of this analogy.
Yeah. So he's like, she said the armoire, he's like, Violet's mad and she says something like, because you just keep making me guess things and how am I supposed to know if there's a battle axe in the armoire? And he's like, what? And she's like, never mind. It's an analogy I made with Imogen last year. It means blah, blah, blah. And then Xaden just goes, okay, yeah, I can work with this. And so Violet's like, what? And he goes, tell me right now, what's in there? What's in your armoire? And she's like, my clothes, some flight leathers, blah, 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 like whatever. And he goes, what about my mom's blanket that she made me that's up in the top corner? And she's like, I didn't snoop. Is that sarcasm? Did she know? Does that mean she did snoop? Or did she really not? Does she not know that that's in there? Couldn't tell. And then he was like, they keep talking, and then he just brings his shadows, grabs a knife, and, like, almost stabs her in the throat with it. And he goes, bet you didn't know there was a knife in the armoire. I don't.
But she did, right?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying.
I guess I didn't. I wasn't that confused. I guess my thought of it. I don't know. I didn't find it.
That's what I'm saying. This is probably a personal thing.
Well, I think Ellie. It sounds like Ellie might agree with you. Do you?
No, I thought it was so out of pocket. I was like, tough nuts trying to tie this back together.
That's right.
Make sense. I was like, if
I was like, this makes total sense.
If Grant told me this, I'd just walk away mid-sentence and be like, okay, have fun talking to yourself if you want to talk in riddles.
See, I was reading this and I was like, oh, this actually makes sense. This is him, like basically getting down to her analogy, like getting on her level and being like, okay, you're thinking that there's a battle axe in there. You and I share this room together. Like, I love you and I'm going to show you every aspect of my life. you know what's in this armoire. You know everything in there.
Well, then that leads him into you just don't want to ask the questions because you don't want to know the answers. And
exactly.
then I got caught up. I got caught up at that point.
You know that, you know that blanket's in there, but you've never asked me about this blanket.
Yeah.
You knew this knife was in there, but you never asked me about this knife.
Yes.
Like, that's how I read it.
I eventually got there, but
so I never got there. So this is news to me.
I was like, this was him like trying to speak in her language because she was using this analogy, and he was like, okay, if you want to get all like cryptic with me, I'll use the same analogy with you.
Sense.
I'm not playing games.
Yeah.
You think I'm playing games? It is all out there
Except
for you to see.
he
You're
is
just
playing
not.
games.
You're just not asking the questions I need you to ask.
Playing games.
I'm not playing games except for the one where you have. Well, and that's what she does bring that up too, like.
But she also refuses to ask the questions. Like,
yeah.
I continually got frustrated, and maybe just because I am in love with every shadow, Zaddy, that I had to. I'm sorry, but like any book I read, I'm like, oh, he's dangerous, but like, it's probably good.
Yeah, sign me up.
Like, yes, please, because I am unhealthy and like every other book girly out there. But
it's okay. Morally, gray is her favorite color.
Exactly, gray is my favorite color. But reading this book, and I like we get more of Xaden's perspective randomly throughout. I don't know. I kept getting more and more frustrated with Violet. While I think Violet is an amazing, like, main female character, like, she's amazing, I was more upset with her than him when it came to, like, the communication problem, the miscommunication. I'm like, he's literally just telling you to ask questions, and you're being obstinate and not asking the questions. Like, you have questions. I freaking have questions, and I'm not you. I'm, obviously a reader, not a character in this book. But I'm like, I have questions, and I need you, Violet, the main character, to ask the damn questions that I'm asking you to ask.
See, and we've talked about this, but I went back and forth on who I was frustrated with. I think they both added to the miscommunication because on one hand, you're right. Like, she wasn't asking the questions, but at the same time, I would be just my personality. Like,
Frustrated.
Enneagram 8, challenger. I love to challenge everyone, anything. If someone tells me, ask you a question, I'm going to say, tough nuts, tell me the answer. Like, so if someone just with my personality, and obviously that's the point of view I'm having when I read these, I would, if someone told me, if I was Violet and Xaden's like, I'm only going to tell you if you ask me, I'd be like, great, guess we're not getting to know one another because
that's true.
Like,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point too, though. Cause I mean, I'm an Enneagram 2. So I'm just like, oh, you're right. That's probably like, am I hurting your feelings if I don't ask questions? I should ask questions.
Yeah.
That's me.
But you're right. Like, I agree. She had more questions, but the fact that
he was more guarded than he needed to be.
Exactly. The fact, like, he's saying he's in love with this girl, but he's still only giving her information if she's asking for it. Like, that's not love.
But because it's a book, I was like, so I had this theory, which, it's not giving away my theories at the end, but I was like, maybe like there's some secret that we like, because Xaden obviously since the very beginning of Fourth Wing has just had secrets that constantly are getting revealed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this guy ever like gonna have everything bared for all of us to know? And I was like, maybe he can't, for some reason there's some magic of this area that he's in where he can't ask these questions or he can't give the answers unless someone asks this question. So I don't know. I was trying to think if there was some magic preventing him. I don't know.
What beautiful segue.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. What movie does that pull from where like they can't answer unless somebody asks them specifically?
It felt like a familiar theme.
It's kind of like ACOTAR, where like the curse isn't lifted unless she can do all like
it's a
certain
specific
things.
movie where like they have to be
I said
asked
kind of.
Yes,
I don't know.
It'll come to me like in the middle of the night. I'll wake up and be like, blah.
Yeah.
But no, it felt like a familiar thing where I was like, oh my gosh, he's pressing this, and I can tell he wants to tell her, but he's waiting for her to ask the specific question. And I'm like, there has to be some reason, which I mean, we find out so much later on as the book goes on.
No. Well, kind of medium. Because that is a beautiful segue into the next part of this conversation, actually. Where he says, you're not asking questions. And Violet, where one of the redeeming points of like one of the reasons I love her so much, just goes, okay, fine. What's your second signet? That's right here.
Just boom.
So it is. You're not wrong. I didn't. you are in sync with Rebecca as far as writing this book.
Becky.
Me and Ellie are not. Me and Ellie are not. And so and he just is like, the color drains from his face. He was not expecting it, which again just brings me back to don't tell her to ask you questions if you're not going to answer them. He was like, wasn't expecting you to ask that.
I'll answer anything but that.
I know. Well, he doesn't answer it, but he also is conveniently interrupted by Brennan saying there's an emergency. And
so Saved by the Bell moment.
Literally. So Violet, then next chapter, is explaining they're walking to the flying field, I believe. Can't remember exactly where they're walking, but they are walking somewhere. And she's with Brennan, and they are explaining how she and Dane retranslated the journal, and there's one line that says, and it took reading the entire beginning to know that once a dragon fires a wardstone, their fire can't be used on any other, and reading the entire end to know they've created 2 wardstones, but it doesn't say why they never activated this one. It's dragon fire that triggers the embedded runes, and they obviously had enough dragons, so why wouldn't they protect more of Navarre if they could? I'm saying this right now. This is going to come back up in one of the other books too, as far as 100%. Why they did it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't feel like that's that much of a surprise, but just wanted to call it out so it's on the internet. I said
Melissa called it, you guys. Melissa called it.
This
Melissa
little
calls
thing
a
that
lot
no
of
one ever.
I'm calling all of it, even if it's wrong. Something will stick.
I was just going to say, the more you predict, the more likely it is that something sticks.
Of the shots you don't take.
Michael Scott.
Wayne Gretzky.
Michael Scott. Exactly.
Melissa.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
I almost just said your maiden name too.
That's fine. When they get to the Wardstone, Violet asks Taryn how Indarna is doing, and he just says that she's being questioned by the Empyrean, but her actions were found justifiable, and it's a heavy mark on a dragon's soul when they kill another dragon. Aww. Then Violet, in that moment, realizes why he only took Solas's eye and didn't kill him the first time they got into that huge argument. And then Taryn says that he should have, because he can, he knows what she's thinking. Yeah. And he won't hesitate to in the future, as Indarna now suffers from a burden that should have been his. I felt equally bad for Taryn and Indarna in that moment.
Well, because it's he has this it's almost like a father or a protective older brother, where
almost
it's
like a grandpa. Because
he's just an angry grandpa. But it's he acts so begrudgingly, he's like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, you can come along. Well, but of course I'm going to protect her for forever.
Exactly.
And that's how it's been the whole time, and that's why I love him so much.
Yeah, I know. Oh, they're walking to put up the wards. That's where they're going. Okay. Because then they do it. Mm-hmm. They do. The dragons breathe the fire and the wards go up. But I kind of love how none of them are sure, and they're all just like, I guess that's that about that.
Well, that was another one that I felt was really anticlimactic. I was like, oh, okay, they're up.
Well, but it makes sense, because then in the next scene, that's when the Wyvern are coming, and I'm glad that they handled it the way, or that she wrote it like that, because then it made the next part where the Wyvern are coming and die trying to get to them so much better, because they're just
because they don't
as
know
readers don't know, because they don't know, so we're on the edge of our seats being like, are they gonna die, because there's just 2 of them and 100 Wyvern, so they're toast if this didn't work. But right before all the Wyvern come, then Xylet, hey, that's their couple name, Xylet, Xaden and Violet land just outside of the cliffs, and they finally have a moment alone together. And Taryn makes a comment that implies he was listening to the argument she had with Xaden earlier, and it made me think just how hard it would be for Taryn and Sigil to be bonded with having, or mated with being bonded to people who are also now, all 4 of them are intertwined. Because on one hand, they're mated to each other, so you want to tell everything to your partner, but there's certain limitations they have with their bonded right, or they can't, or they shouldn't. So what a precarious situation that puts them in. Nice word. And thank you. This is literary analysis.
This is the L.A.M.E. podcast.
But like, so if Violet and Xaden are arguing, Sigale and Taryn probably can't talk about it with one another because then they'll have a hard time being impartial because, like, that's essentially an extension of themselves. So they're obviously gonna, like, feel, like, justified in their reasonings, but then that means they're at odds with one another.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't, this is a total tangent. It just made me realize, like, I had that thought in that moment. Yeah, I'm like, man, that sucks. I don't feel that, would never want to be in that situation.
Or it's like they also have no say over when they can be with each other. Like at the very beginning of the book,
yes and no.
When Xaden's stationed completely on the other side of the continent, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, we're gonna let you guys fly because humans don't govern dragons, so you get to fly to be with each other for 2 hours.
Yeah,
this is if I were a big BA dragon, I'd be like, this is my mate. How about I could burn you to a crisp, or you just let me be with them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But because they don't want anything to happen to their rider.
That's true.
That's why that's why I'm saying it's like.
Yeah. We did have that argument before. But I will also say, to kind of play devil's advocate with Melissa, I feel like that wouldn't, like if Xaden and Violet were arguing, I don't feel like that would be a hindrance to Sigale and Taryn because like, how many times are your close like couple friends arguing and you and Zeke will be like, man, that sucks for them. And then you like talk about it. I feel like it's the same effect. Like, ooh,
yes, but
glad it's not me.
No, it's not though, because Taryn is bonded with Violet. It's more than just like a BFF. Like,
sure, they
are essentially like I said, she's kind of an extension of him and he picks her because of her judgment. So like hardly ever I feel like does Taryn disagree with her, you know what I mean, like internally.
Yeah.
And you're right, like that's also only if don't have their shields up, and that's if they're listening, which I would imagine they probably do most of the time. But I'm just thinking, and that's also probably only on big issues, like little issues, like dragons don't concern themselves with
the matters of humans,
yeah, or like the rules of humans or whatever. But I like on a big thing like what we're about to get into, I can only imagine like how sucky that is.
Yeah. All right, get into it.
All right. They're picking up where they left off in their bedroom. He asked Violet, how long do you think it takes someone to fall out of love? A day? A month? I'm asking because I don't have any experience with it. I'm asking because I think it will take you a heartbeat once you know. And I know that that's not actually the line that like
I know
tore this fandom and broke everyone's heart, but that for me, I think
hearing it back now,
I actually think that one is worse than the one that comes next, because I don't know, he just like he's never vulnerable and he's so vulnerable right now, and I just want to like cuddle him and be like, it's okay. But Violet starts spiraling internally, thinking of what his second signet could be. Is he like, I didn't catch this the first time and I caught it the second time. She thinks, is he like Cat and manipulating my emotions? Like, did I ever actually even love him or whatever? And she's thinking that, but he says out loud, I would never do something like that. But Violet thinks she even says in the book, oh, I didn't mean to say that out loud. I'm so sorry. Like, and Xaden just stares at her and she keeps going. Like, she doesn't catch it.
That would be me. That'd be so me.
That would
tell me, and I would just like talk over it and then not understand and then leave and be confused.
To further prove my point of that would be me, the first time I read this book, I didn't pick up on it. Like, I didn't even catch that until the second time I read it.
So I don't know if we ever talked about this on the podcast, but I absolutely ruined this for myself because actually, no. Somebody in the room ruined it for me. And I won't say who,
it was me.
But I'm not talking to Taylor too often. So I text Melissa, oh my gosh, we should talk about how... Wait, do you want to reveal first? Reveal first.
Okay, yes. Okay, so...
I'm really excited for this story, though.
Yeah, she'll do it in a second. So she asks if he's a distance wielder. He responds by saying, if he was, don't you think he would have spent every night in her bed? Loved that answer. She starts processing again, and he continues. He's like, stop, every time she keeps going. And she asks who else knows, and he says, no one, otherwise he'd be dead. So Violet instantly knows what his signet is, and he explains how he's just a type of intrinsic. He can read intentions, but not actual thoughts, which then that brings me back to, though, right before, how she was wondering what his signet could be and if he could manipulate emotions. And he says out loud, I would never do that. That's a thought. That's not an intention.
That's a thought. 100%.
See, I got a little bit confused. I did get a little bit confused. Yeah.
Also, I have something else to say on this before I tell the story. Okay, so if he can read intentions and that's a type of intrinsic, what the heck is Imogen if she can, well, I guess it's a little different because she can like read or erase short-term memory, but then Dane can also read memories. Is that not also a type of intrinsic? Like,
no, Dane's is. I think that they specifically call that out because in the it's Varish at the very beginning of this book in part 1 when they just kill the new recruit.
Yeah.
Spot on. And I can't remember exactly how it was like revealed, but it was like either a thought that Violet had or a conversation that she had about, like basically like how is Dane able to do this? Mm-hmm. But it's like because it's controlled by Varish. Okay. It's because like they can use it's only when he's specifically touching people, but it's like so there's for some reason this like
intrinsic can't really
project it. It's really high value, or it's like absolutely detrimental to where it's like not only detrimental to like your life and your sanity, but like to literally just any secret ever. So it's like he can control when he gets the information, he can control it. Right. Like and not blurt it out that second, but it's like the second like these other people get this signet, all of a sudden it's like they're so freaked out by it that it's like they just know too much.
Well, and they don't have as much control. Like Dane can only read memories if he's touching people's face. Intrinsics can just like look at someone and read their memories if their shields aren't up.
Yes.
So or read their thoughts even, not just memories.
Yeah. So we all had that chapter where we were all spooked because that guy just started saying things and then got his neck snapped.
He started screaming and then they snapped his neck.
Neck snapped. Oh, sorry. I think I said Varish snapped his neck. It wasn't Varish. It was
Car or
I think Car,
or something. Yeah. It was Car.
Yeah.
Okay, so little backstory. I reached out to Melissa. Oh, we should talk about how we think there's a theory on Xaden being an intrinsic because I've had these thoughts throughout Fourth Wing. How is like Violet just getting like a scent, like a tingling sense, and then all of a sudden she turns around and Xaden's there? And how is Xaden able to like kind of hear say exactly what she's thinking when she's thinking it? There's a lot that goes into this, and I picked up on a bunch of that in Fourth Wing. Melissa's like, "No, don't post that." That's all she says, and I was like, "Would you like to expand on that thought?" She's like, "No, just trust me, just don't post it." Well, okay. So then I'm like, okay, so he is an intrinsic then is exactly what you're saying to me. I can read between those lines. And she's like, I wasn't going to say anything. So then the extra confirmation really just did it for me. And so I was like, oh no.
That sucks.
So
because
it does suck.
I knew for the longest time.
Think about the position that she put me in, Ellie. She has no idea. She's picking up on things. She's smart. It's great. Good for you. But
Way to go.
She hasn't read for Iron Flame. I have. A lot of the book world has. And so how dumb would we look as a podcast if she's posting these theories that have already been answered that she just doesn't know are answered? So that's why I'm like, what do I say? What do I say to this?
So
maybe.
Fair. No, I absolutely agree with you.
But it is like, how do you go about turning that down without literally revealing?
Exactly. Because and I'm not good at that.
I can't believe that you actually figured that out because
I think too many people have already done it. That would have stopped me in my tracks, ladies and gents.
Maybe not, though, because you would have been like, I haven't seen anyone do it.
Well, I've seen 15.
There you go.
I'm just saying.
I've been like, you're probably right.
You know what? I did also, we were all talking at the same time, so I don't know if anyone actually heard it. I did say, I'm not good at this. So you're right. Were there things I could have said that would have been better? I admit 1,000%. Absolutely.
Oh, I ruined things for you in other book series that we've read. So
Taylor ruins things for me on accident because we'll be reading we'll be 7 pages into the book and she's like, I think this is going to happen and then they're going to die and then they're going to get married. And I'm like, how do you already know this? And everything she thinks comes true.
It's just... What book? Oh, From Blood and Ash
series. Oh my gosh. You guessed every single thing that happened like 4 books in advance.
I don't even understand.
She was on fire.
I really was, but it was like to the point where I was like, Melissa was my sounding board reading any book series. It's really nice having a book bestie.
Yeah.
Like if you're listening to this and you don't have, just find somebody.
Message
that,
us. We will be your book bestie.
We will be your book bestie. But seriously, it's like it was just making me sad because I was like, oh my gosh, I have this thought. And she's just like, keep it to yourself.
Point, like,
I don't want to know.
I literally said, Taylor, I love you so much. I love your theories. I love how fun this is. But I need you to wait until I'm done reading the book because you're always right.
Yeah, but you're literally ruining this book for me. And I'm like, I don't even know if it's true. And she goes, but everything else that you've predicted has come true. And I'm like, well, you have a point. But like, I need to process this out loud with somebody.
You should truly consider, if you're jumping to those conclusions so quickly, you should consider writing.
That's what I said. I'm like, you are one with all these writers. You have a story in you.
Are
Let's
one.
write
Unagi. Us normies could never. We're just like, wow, cool.
We're the kind of people that have to read the same page 5 times because the answer's there and we missed
me.
it. So that's not, could not write it.
Xaden says, I feel
like I'm too much of a perfectionist.
And I'm like, what are you?
Well, no, so back to you figuring this out, like just reading Fourth Wing, I was so shocked when he
I was also very shocked
when he came up with, like, when he was like, oh, well, if I told you, like anybody else who has the signet, they're all dead. I was like, what could it mean? Like, I had no clue. And then he goes, now. I know, say more right now, yes. And then I read, 3 sentences later, and I'm like, my jaw is on the floor. And then I start thinking about going through the same thought process that Violet has of like every other situation where he seemed to just be in the right place at the right time and happened to know. And I was like, I guess I never really thought about the fact, like, why didn't he kill her all those times in Fourth Wing when he said he would, outside of the fact that he had this deal with the mother? But it was just like,
start making sense.
It did. It was just like all of a sudden all these pieces were coming together in my mind, and I was like, so I did not get there. The fact that you got there, congratulations, because really I was like,
round of applause, everyone, for Ellie. Because
thank you. This is, I feel like this is owed to me after the hell that I went through.
After you ruined the biggest jaw-dropping moment of the book series. No.
Hey, I only ruined it a little bit because she was already there. Well, anyways. All right. So then Violet starts spiraling again, wondering if she actually loves him or if he just said everything she knew he needed, or he knew she needed to hear. Valid point. I don't know if I would have thought that, though, just because I'm not Violet. But then here's where he says, less than a minute. That's how long it took for you to fall out of love with me.
Gut me.
But do not fret, and none of us had to for very long, because then Violet does say, my love isn't fickle. You better live because I'm ready to ask you all the questions. And I think that this situation was exactly what she needed to know that she really does love him and that she's not scared of whatever answers. Like, he just told her the scariest answer that there could have been, and she realized that didn't scare her off. So
I'm also glad that we didn't have to deal with another half of a book where she's not talking to him because she's mad that he didn't tell her everything. Oh, I'm so glad within one sentence we just got over it.
Yeah.
The miscommunication trope has to be, it's at least favorite, I think, most people.
Yeah.
I do feel like Rebecca wields it in a decent way here. It got tired in some areas, but I felt like it played into the plot really well. Like, I don't like miscommunication when it's just glaringly obvious and you're like, they're intentionally avoiding each other just so that there is a conflict in this book. There's miscommunication in here just because there's so much other conflict. The miscommunication naturally happens.
Yeah.
So she played it well, and I think it added a lot to the book. But Rebecca, if you're listening, no more.
Please,
no more, please.
No more.
No more.
Bex, remember, a couple minutes ago, we
Becky,
decided
why?
you and I were like this. And I'm asking you, as, your close friend.
I scratched your back. No, please scratch mine.
Your close and personal friend. Please stop.
Just stop.
Well, but then, as we were waiting for the Wyvern come, Xaden and Violet recognize the sage from Resin. Mm-hmm. And then he sends the Wyverns, and I like the words work, baby, kind of. Well, they do. They work for now. Mm-hmm. The Wyvern died. They all turn around and go back, and they didn't have to fight, which was great. I liked how short-lived the battle was.
Fight another day.
But when they get back, They learn that General Melgren wants to meet with the people in charge, no more than 2 marked ones, and Violet and Mira, as their mother will be present. And Serena also tells them that she still has some of her powers, which means the wards work, but there's something wrong with them.
That confused the heck out of me.
It did for me too.
Okay, so they are up a little. They were enough to take down the Wyvern, maybe, but not for long.
They work well enough to kill their enemy, but not enough to stop the powers. Honestly, in my head, I'm like, great. This is the best of both worlds. Like, they're still protected, but then now the flyers don't feel as ripped off as much.
That's what I said. But then when they were like, well, it's not, we can't keep going like this. I was like, one, why? Maybe clarify that a little bit more. And I'm not judging, but I am. Because either don't have the words work or have them work. This middle ground did not work for me. I was really confused. And then they didn't present to us why they weren't working. They just said they're eventually not working fully.
I was about to say, it does come in later, and I actually, at that point...
I'm forgetting.
Well,
we'll get there.
We'll get there. And I'm also surprised that you're forgetting, because that's the part that you did the outline on, but that's fine.
I'll tell myself then. We'll get there.
No, this was one where I, like, at first I was like, wait, what the... Oh, okay, best of both worlds. But then I thought about it, and I was like, I instantly jumped to, like, what I had this building theory going on.
And were you right?
And then I was right.
Yep, there it is. So I didn't at all. Also, I will say it was kind of frustrating here, like you said, the whole back and forth, the snip, snap of the words working and then not working. But at the end, when we learn why they weren't, it did come together. It did come full circle. And then I was like, okay, I guess that's fine. But like you said, Becky, let's not move. Keep doing this moving forward. But chapter 57.
Okay, quick question. So I know why they didn't work, and I know how, like, they adjusted, but I don't know what wasn't working about them, and I don't think that was addressed. And if it was, I did not write on it. Then
it is. We'll talk about it.
We can fill in.
Because I don't want to jump to the end of this section, but it does get addressed, and we will talk about it. So chapter 57, I really appreciate the take that Violet has on the situation with Xaden, not telling her about his signet, because she just has so much self-awareness, and I want to be her when I grow up, because I like that she can separate her feelings from the situation. Like, she understands that she's pissed and confused and all the things, but at the same time will acknowledge that him telling her was the ultimate sign of trust. And my thought, I realized as reading this part too, was like, he literally, not only was it the ultimate sign of trust, but he literally could not tell her until her shields were perfected, because then he would risk Dane reading her memories and seeing that conversation, and then he'd be dead. He'd be dead. Like,
he'd be died.
He'd be died.
He would be died.
But
he would be died.
I mean, we've come a long way from her getting to that point with her shields, but still, like, even then, like, she has to know, like, at some point, he wouldn't have even been able to tell her before the beginning of this book. Like,
well, and I mean, I think that just shows how much Xaden loves her too, and I'm sure her thought process, like, melded into this, because even though Xaden could have, like, literally cared less if Dane actually died, he knew how much Dane meant to Violet, that even if the one person who could have found out was the person he despised most in the world because he thought that this guy held a candle for his girl, he knew that having to kill this guy would be the end of her. You know, like, she would be so beside herself if Dane, you know, so that's just why Xaden's the best. We love Xaden because he loves Violet so much that he's willing to, like, as wild as it sounds, lie to her, even though he doesn't want to protect the person he hates the most, because it's actually protecting her. That was a very roundabout, confusing way, but if you think about it...
I tracked with you. I got it.
Think about it, it's true.
Yes. I was with you. But Violet asks Xaden if he's ever used his signet to glean information or influence her feelings at all, and he says no. But...
I felt like, good answer. Good answer.
Family Feud. Yes. But because of their bond, it's super easy for her to just send her intentions down the bond to him without even knowing that she was doing that. And I love her response. It's just so human and, again, relatable, and what I would have done in this situation, because she gets so embarrassed thinking about everything. And, like, even remembering back to that time before they were together, and she's like, oh my god, you knew that I wanted to kiss you that one night. Like, and that's exactly what I would do. I would be like, how embarrassing. I can't even have private thoughts around this guy. Like, that freaking sucks.
It instantly made me think of chapter 54 of Court of Mist and Fury, when you know that Rhys can like read her mind, and she's like, oh my god, like, you know, you think back to like Court of Thorns and Roses, she's like, this is the most beautiful man I've ever seen. And he was like, it's pretty great that you thought that I was the most beautiful man I've ever seen, because you're the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. I would have been, even though it's such a line, I would have been like, mortified. I know. Mortified. Like, just I would have falling down in my chair. I would not have been okay.
I too would have completely glossed over the compliment and only thought about the part that made me feel embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It would have been like, should be flattered, but actually I'm going to go die in a hole right now.
It's because like this giant romantic scene, and your face is just like...
Exactly. That's it. But no, like that, it instantly took me to that in ACOTAR.
Yes. Like, if I were her, I would die. Right?
Yeah.
That's it. Right then and there.
Exactly how Taylor just slid off the chair. That would be me.
Even though they are together now and in love, and it literally doesn't matter, it matters to me.
It matters.
It does matter. It still matters.
Like, because you still have so many butterflies about this person you're in love with. Even though you know that they feel that way about you, you're like, I could still die 1,000 deaths.
1,000 deaths.
Right now.
Then Xaden confirms that he no longer reads her intentions and hasn't since she became more to him than just the general's daughter. And she tells him...
I'd have been like, when? When was that exactly? So I know.
Exactly. Well, but then... And all of this is happening while they're waiting to meet Melgren. Mm-hmm. So, like, they're already there. And he earlier... I didn't touch on this, but, like, earlier in the conversation, he just says to her, if you want to turn me in, I'll understand. Like, I know. And... Obviously, we know that that's not going to happen. And she confirms it right here. She says, I'm not going to turn you in, and we'll fight more about it later, which part of me was like, oh, that's cute. But at the same time, I'm like, this is like the 7th time we've brought this fight up, and I'm a little over it. Feels like you've already made up a little bit. So let's let bygones be bygones, and now you know moving forward.
Let's just love each other now.
As we say here on the pod, let's just let it slide.
Yes, we've said that a lot a couple episodes ago. We'll just let this one slide. Melgren, they all show up. He tells them that he's seen a battle with... Okay, and again, maybe you guys can iron out the little details here for me. I got slightly confused again. In a second, we will... I can't remember if we get to it as this chapter or the next. I think we get to it in a couple chapters, but... he tells them he's seen a battle with the Wyvern and the Venom, and they lose at Samara. And so he's asking them to fight with them in order to protect Navarre in their hatching grounds. Mm-hmm. And everyone objects, all the leaders, well, except Violet. And Xaden's not really saying anything. Violet's quiet because he's not talking to her. And honestly, more power to her. I think if I was there, I would have been like, I'm invited. I'm going to speak my mind, even if no one wants to hear my opinion. But, then Brennan walks out. He's like, yeah, we're not going to fight with you. Like, comes out of the woodworks, quite literally, because they're in the woods. Mm-hmm. And her mom is, like, losing it. She cannot believe.
Seeing a ghost.
Literally. And I feel like her mom is so humanized at this point. I feel like I've said that already, and if I haven't, this is how I feel. And I felt for her, honestly, in this, to think, like, she might not have been the best mom, but Violet even says she remembers the shell of the person that she was after she thought Brennan died. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I am a mom. Like, I can't imagine thinking that my kid is dead and then seeing them just like walk up out of nowhere, and then not only that, but then to
dismiss you.
Yes, and like be disagreeing with everything that you're trying to ask of this group. Like, I don't know,
I'd like to add a little something here. I thought that this should have been revealed in a much more dramatic way, personally, like its own chapter. Like, it
kind of is.
This whole buildup was like Mira found out, Violet found out. We were all waiting for Lilith to find out, and it just kind of just happened so quick. I really was shocked that they didn't. I don't know. I was shocked that they didn't.
I was surprised that it happened.
Start off with Brennan came out.
I was a little surprised. it wasn't kind of like how Violet found out, where it's just like maybe not even the end of the book, but like even the end of a chapter, and then it kind of like
exactly.
I expected
like its own big thing.
I expected it to like be in battle. I either expected to be like, you know, they were on the opposite sides of like of this some battle they were together, and it was like it came down like that's what I thought was gonna be like the mom's like real turning point, where you're like, okay, is General Sorrengail awful or is she just misunderstood? And I thought it was gonna be like her going up against Brennan and like not realizing it's him, and then all of a sudden she has this realization, and then she's just like, what am I doing? Like, this is my son. Like, I thought it was going to be like a big thing like that. This surprised me, but I kind of liked that it wasn't like with Mira walks up and she's just like so shocked, and I love that she slugs him. That's hilarious.
And then the chapter ends. Same with like Violet, it was the end of the book. Like
yes, so like I'm glad it wasn't done in the exact same way. So like I was fine with this, but it wasn't how I was expecting it. I thought it would be more dramatic, like you said, Ellie, but I didn't hate this.
I agree. I guess I
didn't hate it. I just wish it was a little more.
You said also, you hated it.
No take-backs.
Want to make a bet?
No takesy-backsies.
You're going to have to come as Jurian's eye next episode.
That's not going to make any sense. No one's going to get that.
Was that on one of the ones we cut out?
No, we lost that.
That was not on this one. To give some context here, we started recording this episode and realized the mics weren't working, so we had to start over, but the comment Ellie made was part of what didn't make it. Wah wah. So
it was some bet that if one of them lost, they had to come dressed as their least favorite character from ACOTAR.
Wait, I know what it was. Melissa thought that I said Throne of Glass was my favorite series of all time.
I'm gonna find the text. I swear you said that.
And I never did. And so then we said we'll find proof of one or the other, and whoever loses has to come dressed as Jurian's eye in one of the episodes.
Well, you're the one who said Jurian's eye. I didn't get a chance to say that would be a stupid costume before we moved on. But
well, then I said I actually really like Jurian's
saying that, and then the next snip is going to be of you trying to shuffle into that seat dressed as Jurian's eye.
We're moving on. We're getting too off topic.
Okay.
After she literally picks her jaw off the ground, General Sorrengail asks to talk with Mira and Violet privately. And she gives them Lyra's journal. She says that she knows their wards are going to fail. She knows that they're having problems with it. And I like how they just kind of look at each other, and she's like, you don't think I am, what does she say, privy, essentially, to what my daughters are doing and my enemy, blah, blah, blah. But she said that her father, Violet's father, had mentioned that in his studies he found Warwick was lying because he never wanted anyone else to hold the power of the words, but Lyra thought the knowledge should be shared. And so that's why she's giving them the journal. And honestly, how poetic is it to think that that even was the journal that Violet originally had? And if they had just gotten that one originally, if everything wouldn't have happened, then there would be no issues with getting the words up and everything. Well, yes and no. It's obvious. It's in a different language that only Justinia is able to translate. But she also tells them that Wyvern are created from these stones. But I think they're like kind of like runes, but maybe like slightly different. I don't know. I was slightly confused when she was explaining what they're made from. But she said, like, go find the carcasses of the ones that just died, cut them open, and you'll see there's like a rock in them or something. I don't know. But yeah. I feel like that's going to be more important.
I don't understand magic, but I respect it.
It's like the ocean.
Mad respect.
I'm not scared of it, but I do have a healthy respect. I'm not turning my back
on magic.
I do, like, again, if you call everything, eventually something's going to stick. It's saying it now. That's going to come up later in more books.
I actually have a theory on this.
And we will talk about it, I'm sure. Violet and Xaden are then in the sparring gym because they're going to fight now that he's back from Drathis.
I got really excited for that.
Oh, me too. I was like,
oh, that's going to be hot.
This is going to be hot, yes. It's been a week since they met with Melgren and everyone, and Violet is still upset that the Assembly has made the decision not to fight with Navarre. Violet wonders why they're in the gym, and Xaden makes a new rule that they're no longer allowed to fight in the room, and he tells Violet that she can make a new rule, and she says that it's full disclosure moving forward. No more ask me or half-truths, and he agrees. And I said, bet. Because I'm like,
Finally.
so far, that's not happened, and I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. But that's fine. That was just my personal thought on that.
Believe sweet baby Zaddy.
I want to.
Trust all morally great men. That's my theory. That's my motto.
They're never wrong.
Trust them all.
She agrees with him that she wasn't asking the right questions before because she didn't want to hear the answers, but she's sick of everyone in her life omitting information just because she isn't asking the right questions. And I was like, amen, girl. I would be sick of that too. I get it.
Yeah.
And then Violet asks about his mom, and Xaden tells her that his parents had a marriage contract that stated an heir had to live until the age of 10, and then she was free to go, which she did. And I'm not saying this is going to come up later on. It probably will, but I need to know more about what the heck this contract was.
You know there's more going to come up. I mean, the fact that he has a mother that has only been mentioned like literally twice ever, this being the second time, and I think other than the fact that people talked about the fact that you need a mother in order to be born.
Yeah,
I don't think she was brought up before this. Like, what? Go figure. But yeah, there has to be, because there's going to be 3 more books in this series.
Well, and I know we're going to learn more. I'm 1,000% confident we're going to learn more about the mom. I need to know more about like the contract.
Oh,
like
okay.
What the frick? What kind of contract says that a mom has to stay only until the kid is 10?
Yeah.
Or the heir, I guess, is 10.
A love contract.
But what actually made her leave too? Like
exactly.
That's my question, because it's like I think it's like it's proposed in a way here to where it's like she just like good question on the contract, because I literally have no idea, and there has to be something weird in there. But I feel like you have to know it's not actually going to be like she's this terrible person and just decided she hated the son that she gave life to.
Oh no,
and
I
mothered
think she's
for
a
10 years.
Person.
Well, I mean, she actually left, yes, but it's like I feel like there has to be. I don't know.
Maybe she was
taken. She trapped in. That's what I'm saying. Yes,
she was taken somewhere else, or maybe she actually is like who knows who she is. If it's going to be some new element of like something we've not even seen yet coming into this storyline, but it's like I think his mom is going to play a big role down the line.
Yeah. Ugh, Taylor, you need to write a book. I'm so serious about this.
See?
Just because there's so much mystery behind it, where I'm like, you can't just be like, oh yeah, my mom, was with me until I was 10, and then she just left because her contract expired. The fuck? Yeah.
Well, and I just think
what?
And I know we're getting into like I'm not gonna get there. It doesn't matter. Xaden explains that his second signet manifested a month after the shadows did, and when Carr asked if he had developed more, he lied. But then his shadows just became a lot stronger than anyone expected, so they believed him when he said he didn't have one. And then he also says that they believed it was his great uncle who was bonded to Sorrengail and not his grandfather. Like, that's what's written down, which is another reason why they never questioned it. But I'm like, they're fairly meticulous with.
Why is it written down wrong?
Well, because every time, like, same like when Violet, after threshing, they walked up and they have to say the name of their dragon who bonded. They write everything down. I want to know how that got messed up. Did his great uncle and grandfather have the same name?
It was,
or something.
I think it was intentional to keep that secret or something like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Because Violet takes note of how like Xaden had told her specifically he said grandfather when he could have said great uncle, so he wanted her to figure it out eventually.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, how are it's not like you can just like go into a computer system, hack it, and change someone's name. Like, they just you walk up and say your name, and the Oh no, go! I need to know.
Do it.
I'm gonna just remind me of this later on when we're talking theories.
Okay, I'm gonna try to remember, but I'm probably not. Ellie, you remember?
Hold on, I'm gonna write it down.
Please do. I'll keep going. I'm gonna keep going as you write it down. I'm gonna keep going. This is fun, you guys. This is happening here live. Live thought process.
I'm calling it right now. Hold on. It's happening.
The live thoughts of Taylor. I
just have to find my massive note of theories.
All right, the storyline shifts, and now they're in battle brief, talking about what the Venin/Wyvern are doing and why they're not going to help. Brennan challenges everyone to think what Melgren would be doing, and eventually Violet says that he would be pulling all the daggers from the coastal outposts and to reinforce and boost the power supplies at the border outposts, since Wyvern die crossing the borders and Venin can't channel. She then makes a comment saying, as long as Navarian forces can physically repel the Dark Wielders and keep them from scattering the power supply in the armory, ... I got lost at this point.
I assume she means power supply in the armory is the like the runed what do they call the daggers with the stuff in it?
Yeah, but like why as long as they can physically repel the Dark Wielders and keep them from scattering the power supply, how would the Venin and how would the
Dark Wielder is just another word for Venin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
It's like in From Blood and Ash when they
interchange like 3 words for like the same type of person. I'm like,
it took me about 3 books to fully understand that it means the same thing.
Yeah.
No, but why if it like stops them from being able to channel, how would they even get to the point where they could like get into the wards and scatter them? I guess if they weren't physically repelling them, and then because the Wyvern would die but the Venin wouldn't, and they could remove them. I don't know. I just got a little confused.
I think there's a little bit of inconsistency here, but
I don't think it's inconsistency. I think it's just me. I don't
you think it's just us just not understanding. That's
I was writing down my theory,
my track history, but I refuse to believe that. Once again, I'm obviously correct, and the writing is wrong. I can't believe I'm the only one who's figuring this out.
Sorry, Becky, you done messed up.
I was just saying how they're in battle brief, and Taylor, I don't know if you heard, she said she missed it because she was writing down her theory. She makes a comment because Brennan is like having them like work through why they're not helping Navarre, because a lot of them are like, I have family, I want to help or whatever. And eventually Violet is processing and gets to the point and says this: as long as the Navarian forces can physically repel the Dark Wielders and keep them from scattering the power supply in the armory. I got really confused when she started saying that, because I'm like, I understand moving all the daggers to be closer to boost the wards and everything. Like, I get all of that. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, once they cross
Are you sure
the wards,
them is the Dark Wheel is the Venin? Are you sure
that's what the sentence says? Or is she talking
about them like the actual Navarian forces?
Well, I don't think it would be the Navarian forces.
Because I need the previous couple sentences to...
Well, I don't think it is the Navarian. She's talking about the Navarian forces because why would they don't want the runes the daggers to be scattered. So why would they be the ones scattering them? No, but I quoted it from the book. It says, as long as it can physically repel the Dark Wielders and keep them from scattering the power supply in the armory. So I don't know. To me, I just got confused because I'm like, the Wyvern are going to die when they cross the wards. The Venin won't, but they won't be able to channel. So, but why is the first thing they're going to do is go to the army and just start moving the dagger? Like, I get it, it's going to weaken the wards, but I feel like that's a waste of time. I don't know. I don't know. That's just me. I just didn't.
I mean, as a fellow girl, I say a lot of things sometimes that like, whoops, maybe I should not have said that.
As a fellow girl.
So, I get it a little.
I guess.
Perhaps that's not an issue, but she brought it up.
Anyway, moving on. Then she has the revelation that Samara isn't the focus, it's a distraction. Mm-hmm. And Melgren couldn't see the real battle because there are more than 3 marked ones there. But the real battle is at Bisgayeth, and they have to go. Otherwise, they're no better than they are. This is where I started, and I said this earlier, I'm like, well, I'm a little confused. Because Melgren can't see anything when there's 3 or more marked ones gathered. Mm-hmm. Understand. But if he can't see the battle, then obviously that means that they all go. Like, so I don't understand, like, I mean, I get it, she didn't have this revelation until then, but I guess it's not as confusing as I thought it was originally.
I was like, I mean,
now that I'm processing it, I'm realizing it's exactly what I was thinking.
Like,
so
wait, where are you confused? Hold on. I feel like you just explained what exactly happened.
Never mind. Ignore. See, this is why
she's processing out loud.
I have no room to critique any authors because this is me. This is real. This is me. Exactly. I'm going to want to edit that out, but I probably won't.
Nope, you cannot.
Okay.
Is that Joe Jonas?
Are we moving on to chapter 59?
We sure are. Everyone's...
All right.
Yo, that's... Oh, I forgot. This is you. Take it away, Allison.
Buckle up, everyone. These are my words now. Everyone... Excuse me. Everyone... Excuse me. All right. Everyone is prepping to leave for Bascaeth, and Indarna insists that she's going too, even though the assembly is against defending Bascaeth, which includes Brennan, so that was a little bit of a bummer. In the midst of all this, we get a couple details about the dragons in this chapter, and I think they're important to note. Number one, Indarna is now half Sigil size, and Tairn is confirmed a middle-aged dragon. I know we talked about that in the last podcast. We weren't too sure. So,
pause.
Yeah.
Maybe, most likely me misremembering. 3% chance that it's an inconsistency. I thought earlier in this book they said she was 2/3 the size of Sigil.
I thought that too. So, I don't know. I'm
She's
quoting
shrinking.
it.
She's Benjamin buttoning and shrinking. She's also going to turn back to gold. This is like a whole thing. I'm just kidding. Keep going. Sorry.
I don't know, but that's what Rebecca wrote, so that's that.
That's what I'm reporting on.
Also, another little fun fact, this came a little later, but after decades, Tairn and Sigil would be able to communicate long distances apart. That's how the mating thing works. So I found that out. That was great.
Wasn't there only like one other mated pair that can do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and Violet had asked, like, how long before you guys can do that? And he was like, it's going to be decades.
How long have they been mated? I feel like it wasn't as long,
Taylor,
it wasn't as long as I thought it would be.
Taylor, you're asking a lot of really
That's a
great questions.
question for your good friend Bex and not your good friend Ellie.
All right, I'll give her a call after this.
Okay,
Phone a friend.
So, Flyers aren't going with them to this battle, but before Violet leaves, Marin gifts her a type of crossbow, essentially, and Mayor sight arrows that are imbued and runed to explode on impact. Big emphasis from her on not dropping these, which I really thought something would happen where, like, oops, a mistake, and Violet would, like, explode something. Yeah. I saw it either being a really epic, she threw it into a cave and it blew up a bunch of things, or she accidentally dropped it and it messed a lot up. There was no in between.
One or the other.
They approach Bascaeth after an 18-hour flight, and Violet tells Indarna to stay hidden, and Indarna says, I'll be where I'm needed. As soon as they land, Violet and Mira are eye to eye with their mom, and they explain that the battle isn't going to happen at Samara, but at Bascaeth, and the wards are in danger. After a lot of convincing, Lilith takes them to inspect the wards.
Do we know why they left her? If they thought the battle was at Samara, wouldn't they want her there? Or is it like I guess
that explained?
They left her because they thought they were all going to die, so at least someone in leadership wouldn't?
Yeah, I think that's literally what they said. Like, they needed some people to stay back.
Yeah.
Just the most important people have to stay back because we think everyone's going to die.
Except Melgran went.
Bye. Oh, no.
I'm more thinking Coda, not because Coda is the only dragon that's older and bigger than Tairn, I think. So
yeah,
that's true.
Anyways, keep going.
Okay, so then Tairn lets Violet know that Garrick's dragon, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I kept saying Chad, but I know it's not Chad.
Wait, how do you spell it?
I like Chad, and I think we should just roll with it.
Wait, how do you spell it?
How funny. There's Marb, Tairn, and like all the other
Chad.
Chad. It's CHRADH. Chad.
I think it's Chad.
So
I think
the common spelling of Chad.
I think the R is silent. I think it's Chad.
And the H. The R and the second H are silent.
That's how I read it.
Trad.
So, anyways, Trad is worried because he senses runes with a different type of energy, the same energy that he detected in Resin. Wah wah. The guards in front, as they get to the room with the wardstone, the guards in front are dead, and Lilith is shocked and surprised. But are we? Not really.
No, not even a little bit.
They race in and see Bade and Jack trying to take down the wards.
Effing Jack.
This shocked me.
Effing Jack. That's That's all I have to say.
Honestly,
no, that's not it. I'm coming back with more. This mofo,
please.
this mofo. I was like, it's just this book has so much in it. Like when she's, in part 1, while they're still, learning at Besgaeth, and Jack just struts into the classroom like, what freaking else is going to happen? Like, what other person that unexpectedly, for no reason other than the fact that she just exists, hates Violet is going to come back to life? Like, this mofo appears freaking out of nowhere. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I remember there was no body, and I feel like the rule with, like, I don't know, you ever watch Game of Thrones or any, like, fantasy action-packed show, you know that if you don't see the body, they're coming back. They're coming back. So I was always afraid. I was always afraid that there was something going on with Jack, but my brain didn't want to connect that that's what Nolan was doing the whole time. I was just
I absolutely didn't.
I was so heartbroken over the fact that Liam died that the whole time, like, he's repairing Liam. That's what it is. He has Liam, and he's going to bring Liam back. And I was like, that would be so great.
That as a possibility.
And then,
nor did I.
I just wanted it so bad. I was trying to, like, will it into existence.
Yep.
Becky and I were not on the same page in that regard. But then Jack walks in, and I was like, what else? Like, all of a sudden, Varish, this guy comes in. Then Jack comes back. Jack was normal at the beginning, but the whole time.
Did not believe it. And I said
I was suspicious.
And you called it.
It's on the
You
internet.
did get that one.
I did.
I have it in my notes.
Stuck.
I literally, anytime Jack did anything, I was like, sus, in all caps. I was
Once
like,
again, that's suspicious.
That's suspicious.
That's
yeah.
weird.
Exactly. But no, and then all of a sudden they get down there to this Wardstone, and Jack is down there with Bade, who just is like the worst dragon ever.
Solas is.
Solas.
But Bade is a close second.
Yeah, well, Solas is donezo now.
True.
Solas is donezo.
So I guess right now.
So
Bade
now
is.
Bade is the worst. Bye, Solas. Hello, Bade. But no, literally, I was just like, I think the exact words, this mofo, came out of my mouth when I was reading this scene. I was like, of course it's Jack.
Yep.
Anyway.
Honestly.
I feel passionate about this still. Sorry, continue, Ellie.
No, you're good. So on that note of it, course, it being Jack Barlow, everyone races in. They see them. Jack and Bade start fighting against the team.
No, each other. Like,
No. Bade and Jack start fighting against everybody else coming in. Bade throws freaking fire at them. And we get to see Riddick's just full-blown power here, which I thought was so neat because we don't really get to see his signet. Him like throwing what's that guy in X-Men, Bobby, where he just throws up a giant ice wall.
True.
Loved it.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually don't think until this moment I even knew what Riddick's signet was.
I completely forgot because I think it was mentioned one time.
Maybe once or twice. And like I absolutely glazed over it.
I was like, okay, cool. He's Ice Boy.
It's pretty cool.
He's Frozone. Got it.
He's Frozone.
Where's my super suit?
So Sarah J. Maas does the Maasaverse. Rebecca Yarros has a contract with Disney.
Yes.
So now we're gonna get the Incredibles with Empyrean.
Actually,
nope,
plot twist.
That also didn't land. Let's just
plot
keep going.
twist. Violet's second signet is that she's Elastigirl.
Keep going. She's Violet from Incredibles.
Yes.
Violet is Violet.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
Which makes me think of Charlie and the Chocolate. Violet, you're turning Violet. Now we're in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I'm not loving where this is going. We're gonna move on. I like the energy.
They're never inviting me back.
Next point, though. So before they realize what Jack is doing, he gets up out of his seat, gets up on Bade's neck, and this I never would have seen coming. Pushes his blade through her throat.
Also,
you have
didn't
to read
know
that more than once because I genuinely was confused. I was like, he didn't.
I was like, he just killed himself.
Jack,
exactly.
What?
I'm like, who? That's what I said. I'm like, why? What a freaking idiot! He's gonna die now.
I was like, this is the meanest form of suicide. Like, you're not only killing yourself, obviously, but you're not killing your dragon too.
And I was also like, wait. Like you said, I had to reread it. I'm like, who just stabbed Bade? Because it couldn't have been Jack. Who is now in this? Like,
I was so shocked. So I guess it turns out you do have to sacrifice a dragon in order to make the wards fall, because that's exactly what happens. The stone cracks, starts to crash, and the wards come down.
I thought the wards fell just because the stone cracked, not necessarily because the dragon died.
That's what I thought too.
No, I think he had to do that on purpose for a reason.
No, I think you're right. Yes, no, you're right.
You're so right. Okay.
I'm back.
But you're right.
You guys had me in the first half. Not gonna lie.
I didn't get there though. I will say didn't get there until this moment. It's not like I forgot. I'm just now here.
He needed the wards to fall for reasons that I know that you're going to get into in a second. Mm-hmm. But you're right. He had to kill a dragon, aka his dragon, that maybe he no longer needs. Anyway.
I know. So now who's the worst dragons in Solas and Banter?
Segue into
petition for
Ellie.
Kodak.
Coda? That's how I read it. Or Chad.
Chad.
Oh, Chad. No.
I'm kidding. Keep going.
Okay, so now
Who are we talking about?
60.
Yeah.
They're all waiting for Jack to die as his dragon is now dead. Yeah. But Jack just keeps on kicking.
Just keeps swimming. Just kidding.
Disney.
Nolan comes in and screams, "Jack, don't do this. You can choose." And we find out from Xaden's intrinsic gift that Nolan had been trying to mend Jack throughout the whole year, which Taylor had already gotten to.
Which I feel like we already knew. So
no, it's okay.
I thought we, or maybe that was just.
No. We knew that Nolan.
I thought we did know.
Nolan was also trying to mend his mind. That's what he mended him physically, but he had also, after he mended him physically, he kept working on him to try and mend his mind because he knew. Keep going.
Segue.
He knew he was Venom. I gave it away.
Oh, okay. I see. Well, Violet determines that. Sorry. Well, now I'm all lost. Okay, yes, because Jack turned Venom. We're back, baby.
But
so Violet determines that he must have turned Venom before she even wielded that one day in May when they fought.
I was flabbergasted reading this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how? I was under the impression, I think much as we all were, that once you're Venom, it's very odd. Like bloodshot eyes.
Yeah.
Like, how could someone have possibly slipped through their radar and been Venom the whole time? But it makes sense with how much he just hates people. I mean,
right.
That mofo Jack.
Except he hated her before he even knew how powerful. I don't know, but.
Well, and so I'll bring this back now. This is why I think that the wards aren't necessarily able to keep Venom out, like what we kind of determined.
Wait, when did he turn Venom?
We think it was Violet thinks it was before she even killed him, quote unquote.
I had another point in a later chapter that spoke more on exactly when he turned, but I don't really remember. It was before she wielded.
Yes, going off of what you said, I knew the wards didn't kill the Venom. It kills Wyvern, but they're not supposed to be able to channel within the wards, and Jack very clearly has been working on his Signet. So,
but he was also
what's his Signet? No.
What was his Signet?
Well, before he died, he manifested, didn't he?
But what was his Signet?
I don't remember, but I also didn't remember Riddick's. The fact that I don't remember doesn't mean it wasn't mentioned.
Let's see what the internet says.
I don't know. I'm just
Signet.
Well, because this is actually a question I have regarding a theory that I have.
Okay.
I have many theories we've established.
A working theory.
Yes.
So it looks like he was able to manifest his Signet prior to turning Venom, which is probably why he was A-okay for a second.
That just doesn't make any sense to me. But
how does it not make any sense? It's just like a normal person changing.
Well, yes,
Signet is pain projection.
Oof. Ouch.
Yeah.
Does he use that in this chapter?
He uses it against Violet. No, not in this. He used it against Violet before I think he turned Venom and then turned Venom.
But
to me, it just feels like a little bit of a cop-out, I guess, if you manifest your Signet prior to become Venom, that you get to keep it within the world.
But I don't think he gets to keep it because he doesn't use it ever again within what we've
seen. I mean, we only see him for.
Sorry, I thought you said, well, he manifested first, so that's why he got to keep it. That's what I thought. So,
no, he manifested first, so he had a Signet within the wards and got to use it, but then turned Venom. But then, so we know that Venom can exist within the wards. Yeah. But they think their power is dampened, which is why the wards work. Like they can't use as much power.
Yeah, they can't channel.
Well, they can, because within the next couple sentences, I'm lost. Hold on. Thinking.
Oh, what'd I do?
Oh, no.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Do you want to jot this time down?
No, just
that was
like,
a hot second. Okay. Well, Jack reveals
context.
that
I
the
messed
wards
it
don't
up.
block out. Jack reveals that the wards don't block out all power, like the dragons say, and there are others living among them. So I wonder if there's more venom in there than like venom outside the wards. And then Jack looks at Xaden and says, "I'll never know why it's you that he wants." And he's like, "I'm better, I'm faster, I'm greater, but you
except
want
you're
you."
not, because clearly
which makes
you're not.
us scared for Xaden. So then this is why I know that Jack as a venom can still like channel or like suck up power from the ground, because Dane goes to read Jack's memories, but after a few seconds Jack turns and starts to drain Dane's power, and he's draining all the color from the rocks around him too. So then Xaden goes up and knocks him out. Why didn't Xaden kill him is my question.
This is just back to what we just were talking about. Like, we were just talking about how, like, no, he had a signet before, and then once he became venom, he couldn't channel. But then you're like, but then he can channel. And this is just where I got very confused.
No, I don't
not
mean
channel. Not
mean,
channel
as
his
a
signet.
venom, he can take the power out of his
because
surroundings.
the signet. So the signet power comes from his bond with the dragon,
and that gets severed once he becomes venom.
We don't know. Like,
True.
it's not established. So
TPT, actually, and that also comes in later.
Yes,
but
exactly. I think we should
be
revisit
able
this
to really
topic.
do anything.
I think we should revisit this topic a little bit, like towards the end.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's just a lot that happens in these next couple of chapters that might give us some answers.
True.
Or expand our question further. Who knows?
Fair enough.
Foreshadow.
Okay. Confused.
So Dane says that they have 10 hours or less after he read Jack's memories until they're all dead, because the battle is charging towards them. They then realize that there are tracking runes all over Biscaya thanks to Jack, and they lead right to Biscaya and the Veil, which is the energy that Chad felt.
Chad.
The next morning, Violet and Xaden are having a moment before the battle when they are so rudely interrupted by
her brother.
Brennan.
What a cock block.
But also good, because that means he showed up. He wasn't going to. He did. So we're all happy.
I forgot that he wasn't already there.
It's still a cock block.
However, that gives Violet hope that he could work to mend the Wardstone. So that's good news. And then General Sorrengail approves the plan for Brennan to start mending the Wardstone and for the Fourth Wing to defend the airspace above the Wardstone.
I just also didn't love the thought of, like, I guess I get it, but I don't know. I feel like they've really honed in the fact that menders are like the equivalent of surgeons, like a medical, like they have only ever mended people. There's never ever been one reference in either book of a mender mending someone that, or something that wasn't a person.
Yeah.
So this is just my personal, I don't think it was an inconsistency. I don't think it was anything. I just didn't like that. Yeah. It just wasn't my favorite.
Well, yeah,
Brennan
like
mended the stone.
My mind didn't even go that was a like
exactly.
Like when they were like, "Oh, we'll bring in a mender," I was like, "Oh, like
yeah."
In the sense of the word, that makes sense.
New factors that you didn't know were playing cards to begin with, because you're like, "Oh, that seems too convenient." Then
I was like, "Oh, mender as in healing, as in doctor, hospital, not mender as in like I can literally mend anything alive, inanimate."
Well, but they even said, "It's like, is this even possible?" And he's like, "Let's just try it." Like,
go figure, it works.
They don't even know.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Yeah.
But and he's like, "Is there anything you can't mend?" He says, "Magic." To me, this seems a little magical, but that's
broken.
But it's broken. Yeah. Right now, it's just a stone.
True.
Now it's just broken rock. Just putting rocks back together, I guess.
But
he's just playing with Legos at this point.
Now,
yeah. Can you put these together?
Yeah.
Because this is getting a little lengthy, we're gonna go ahead and stop right here. End of part 1 of part 6. And then we're gonna come back and do a part 2.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
So this is where we kick Melissa out of the podcast and I take her place.
Chapter 61, everyone. Just kidding.
I have detailed notes. Let's go.
How
many more chapters are there?
A lot faster than Melissa does, so we'll have a lot of time for theories at the end. So get your notes ready.
Oh, I'm ready. Yes, my theory. So part of the reason I wanted to pause on Jack and talking about everything with the dragon and him being venom has so many questions that I play into the end with Xaden. So I'm like, I have like ongoing questions and just unfinished thoughts that I'm like, this will all tie back in like 3 chapters.
Yeah. I have things to say on that.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. It is so funny. I literally feel like I'm like, oh, I see and talk to Ellie all the time just because I see your guys' things on Instagram. And it's just so funny because I'm like, yeah, like I just feel like social media is just funny that way.
I love it. It is. It totally is. No, I tell Melissa all the time. Every time we... Huh?
I said, good news. I only peed my pants just a little bit.
Oh, it's okay.
Much worse things have been done in that office.
Oh, Ellie. Or Taylor, have we told you? What did Ellie just tell
her.
I don't know. My mind went so many places.
No. It's not where well, maybe. So, setting the scene. This is the first time Grant and Ellie have come to hang out with us in a while.
Okay.
And the first day we're here, Ellie and I are here recording a few episodes. And Grant comes and he's just working and he takes a call and comes inside, does whatever. We're going to leave. And Grant's like, oh, where do you take out the trash? And Zeke's like, oh, there's a dumpster just like right down there. And Grant's like, oh, let me just take this for you. And we're like, no, Grant, like you do not have to take out the trash. It's totally fine. He's like, please, like, just let me take out the trash. And we're like, Grant, literally,
so nice.
I'm not going to have you take out the trash. Stop. And he pauses for a second. He goes, there's no way around this. I'm just going to have to say it.
Oh, no, my mind's already...
He goes, there's no way around it. I'm just going to say it. I shit my pants and threw in my underwear in your trash can. I stuffed them in a Starbucks bagel bag, and they're in the trash can, and I need to take it out. This is like Zeke and Grant's like second ever interaction. Like it is
ever.
Oh, now they're really close.
He also was in the bathroom for a while at one point, and Ellie even went back there, and I'm like, Ellie came back. I'm like, is he okay? Because he also we knew he wasn't feeling 100%. He was getting over something, so I was like, is he feeling okay? Like
clearly
my mind
not.
Was not going to shitting underwear, but. Yeah.
I was thinking like he like clogged the toilet and like it's just starting to come back up. You to put that in the trash can. No.
It's so much worse than that.
Oh, but somehow the underpants is better than him like fishing his actual like raw turd off the ground.
I don't know. Well, he said he was out on the phone call with a friend and he was like, it just happened. He's like, I have never in my life just crapped my pants like with no warning. My body just released. Like.
In his defense.
So your poor husband's just walking around, no underwear.
For a while.
Yeah. Oh.
Free balling it.
He's like, please just let me take out this trash so I don't have to explain. Oh my gosh.
Well, and he was like, well, how would you have covered that up? And I was like, I would have taken that to my grave. I would have said nothing. I would have been like, man, it smells. Don't know why.
Like, I think there's something wrong with your pipes.
Melissa and I were saying like we would go to the lengths of saying like somebody came into your office, broke in, shit in your underwear, put it in a Starbucks bagel bag, and dumped it in your garbage can.
Like, are you sure the door wasn't unlocked when you first walked in here? Because oh, your poor husband.
Oh, it's so funny. But in his defense, I also caught that stomach flu like quickly afterwards, and it was just as rough. Not publicly, but just as rough.
Oh.
Chapter 61. You guys ready?
Let's do this.
Just stop me when you have something to say, because I'll just keep going. I'm a quick. Let's do it. Okay.
All right.
Chapter 61. The team gets ready and discusses their real feelings. We find out Jasenia is also in Biscayeth, as well as some of the Griffins. So everybody just kind of showed up, and they were like, "We're here. Let's do it."
See, now are Griffins not as picky about who rides them as dragons? Because there was another.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
they specifically say.
Okay, I didn't remember that. There was another part where I remember a Griffin had their rider plus someone else, and not Jasenia. Like, but
yeah. I think Violet like notes like, oh, I guess Griffins aren't as picky as dragons or something like that.
Jasenia.
So then Violet.
Sorry, Jasenia got to. How do you pronounce where Xaden's from?
Arisha. That's what I said. That's how I say it.
I said Arisha, but I changed it to Arisha after Melissa kept saying
not the specific city, but like the region.
Tyrann.
Okay. Anyway, yes, I never knew how much. Words are hard. But she rode a dragon to get there the first time, right? Like someone,
I think
one of the dragons
specifically
made an exception.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that one time while everyone was fleeing Navarre.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry. Continue. Proceed.
All right. Violet again tells Andarna to go hide, and as she backs up, she pretty much vanishes into the darkness. So we got to take a little note of that.
I did.
I did.
Did not.
I did. That was
I was part of a working theory that I had.
Nope. I was like, yep, she's black. That makes sense.
Every time she said she shimmered purple, she shimmered this.
Yeah, I was like, she's reflecting the colors because she's has such a cool sheen on her scales. I don't know. Literally, not once was I even expecting it.
Taylor?
No, she was. She already said. You guys are both better than I.
Oh, yeah. No. I had a working theory, and I read that, and I was like, I freaking knew it.
Okay. So then Xaden says to Violet, so sweet. I love you. The world does not exist for me beyond you. And then Violet's mother starts making it rain, which I picture this as such a dramatic, really cool scene.
Me too.
She makes it rain because she is imbuing her favorite weapon, which is Violet.
Ah! I'm laughing because I'm saying me too, but I'm also realizing that in my head. Don't hate me. I'm making the connection of when it started raining in another Cinderella story with
I was just going to say that.
Waiting for you is like waiting for rain in this drought. That's useless and disappointing.
Get out of my head.
Oh my God.
If you look back at this video, I'm going like this because I really wanted to speak and say that exact thing. I'm picturing Chad Michael Murray, aka Xaden.
Like peak theatrical drama for me.
They kiss, so the raindrop hits the cheek, they look up, smile. Yeah.
I 100% thought you were going to say, don't hate me, but I was picturing like the llama in Emperor's New Groove as the opening scene where he's just like,
how did I get here?
No, much more dramatic than that. It has to be Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray.
I literally was thinking that exact same.
This is a sidebar. Taylor and I we love being book besties because of this. Literally, like, constantly in each other's brain when it comes to like comparisons and stuff.
Like, and we'll have the most, out of left field, obscure thought, and we'll be typing, little like bubbles popping up as you're typing. And we will say the exact same thing at the same time, and it's the most unrelated. I don't
It's
understand.
So weird.
My theory is that her oldest daughter was born on my birthday. I'm like, there's some weird telepathy thing there because
you
birthed some
way.
Yeah, I'm like, you birthed through your daughter. We're connected.
Anyways, okay,
love it.
Keep going. So sorry.
No one cared about that, but I really wanted to share that.
So then the Venin approach and the battle begins. Violet kicks it off by sending her lightning up into the cloud of Wyvern, and carcasses just start dropping to the ground, creating what did they say, like 2-foot indents in the ground. I loved the imagery.
Remember.
It was so good.
It was good. I just
good job, Becky.
Exactly.
This one, Violet seems so much better at aiming. She's like hitting most of her marks, which is very impressive.
Partially because she's been training with Felix, but also partially because the FMC never lets you down when this is go. If you don't do it, you're gonna die. And I feel like every other situation, like Resin, everything, any other situation where it's like, this is we're all dead if I don't do it. She's been able to, which I feel like that's enough pressure. I would
like the stakes are high enough.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Every squad has to focus on their own sector, which I liked because it felt like very manageable work for me. See, I was feeling very overwhelmed when they categorized it and organized it. My little accounting mind was like much better.
Yeah.
See, and I feel like this is, and I don't know, maybe Ellie, you probably not, but maybe you'd have like a little bit more insight on this. I feel like this is where Rebecca's like exposure to the military really helped, because this feels like totally what someone would do in a real war. And so it just made it feel more like realistic and accurate. I don't know. Maybe
that's also just what I've loved about the whole series. Like the actual like war imagery with it. And it did make my type A brain very happy. I was like, oh, okay, I can work with that.
I'm literally, I don't know about
stick
you guys,
to your box. Got it.
You guys, but I picture
exactly
almost like it. Let's say we're in Planet Drool and Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and there's an electric grid like up in the sky. That's exactly like how I imagined them staying in their little.
Well, because you and I
boxes.
share a brain,
That's
I thought the exact same thing.
Naturally.
So maybe not the planet drool part, but
Well, that's just fresh in my mind because that's what Holland's really into right now. So,
fun fact, I met Lava Girl. I went to elementary
Taylor
school with her.
Dooley?
Yep, I went to elementary school with her.
oh, she's from,
Actually,
What? You did?
Interesting.
Yep, actually, my best friend in elementary school, her older sister was best friends with Taylor Dooley. So we
practically your best.
So basically, we're the same person, and we slept over at their house at the same time. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Lava Girl.
I would like to note just a small thing. One, I don't have a child, so there's no reason that I should know the name Taylor Dooley. As
I was a little surprised.
Celebrity.
No, not at all.
But
That's
here
the
I
one
am.
thing she's really been in.
And yet here we are. And you want to know why? It's because one day I looked her up thinking, wonder what Lava Girl is up to these days on Instagram. Found out she's like a super hardcore Christian, so I love that, and I've been following
I saw
her
that
ever since.
recently. Yeah, so maybe she likes Iron Flame.
Maybe we can get her to
Maybe
guest
she-
star
And
on the
she
podcast.
probably so
We have a connection now through Taylor.
Taylor Dooley, Taylor Garden. Don't know if you remember me.
Here I am,
Elementary?
your best friend.
Yeah.
And Taylor,
I-
go a little further. Let's get the best bang for our buck. Ask Taylor Dooley if she
To
can
get
reach out
Taylor
to Taylor Lautner
All the Taylors
to be on our show.
And we can ask him to bring his ex-girlfriend Taylor Swift and his current wife Taylor
Lautner.
Lautner.
Yes.
Taylorception.
All 5 Taylors
We'll have
on
it.
our show.
Taylorverse here on our episode.
I like
And it
where
will
this
make
is
no
going.
sense, but it'll just be all the Tays.
Talking all things Taylor.
We'll just pick the Taylor's minds.
I'm the least interesting one to be there. I'm just gonna bow out of that. The 4 of them can have their own podcast.
I beg to differ. After we finish hearing
you.
all your theories,
That's
I might just be
true.
like, Miss Swift, please be quiet. Taylor, go ahead.
Sit down. You've had enough attention
Step
recently.
aside.
Just go hang out.
Travis
Go hang
is
out with
looking for a
Travis.
new girlfriend, actually. So, anyways, keep going.
Okay, so everyone is doing their work or their part, and Violet starts to get exhausted. And this is kind of early on, so I was very nervous for her when she's like, "Man, I'm getting tired."
Yes.
And we also
Weren't
find
we
out
all?
that this is only the first wave of venom. So I'm like, you can't be tired because you don't have enough time to recharge before the second one. I'm panicking.
Yes.
A venom lands on Taryn's back, but Violet is literally stuck in her car seat because the leather absorbed the water from the rain.
I forgot that we called it a car seat a few episodes ago. Sorry.
I was losing my mind. I was like, this is so embarrassing for all of us. The fact that like you can't get up. It's looking pretty bleak until Rhiannon saves the day by jumping on Taryn's back too. Chapter 62.
Which is
Violet, of
wild
course-
that Taryn was okay with her jumping on his back.
I think dire times call for dire situations. We're rolling with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rolling.
Chapter 62. Violet, of course, starts off by thinking Rhiannon is going to die. To me, this gets tiring because she always tells people, like, you have to trust me, you have to let me live, you have to let me fight, blah, blah, let me do things. But then she doubts literally all of her friends all the time. She's like, oh my gosh, I have to go save them. They're going to die. They're not okay.
I don't know, because here, this is just me, a humble girl with control issues who
Self-aware.
agrees.
That's good.
I am always constantly like, I got this, let me help you. But then,
You
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Like
anyways.
you don't want to like
Yeah.
you don't want to receive
But I'm like,
help,
no,
you're
but I
also
have
like,
to do this on my own.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
That's
get
fair.
it.
I just
I
think
can
I'm
relate.
reading it. I think I do the same, but then I read it and I'm like, that's couldn't possibly be me, and I'm annoyed.
it couldn't be me.
I don't know.
is
Personally,
me.
personally, that didn't bother me, but I think it's just because I can relate.
I think it was just like same with this is left field, but same with Vampire Diaries, how there's always kind of like the same problem. Like we're just seeing it again and again. I just felt like just let people live. Let them save you sometimes.
Just
But
let them
anyways,
live.
bullet point number 2, I say all that, but Rhea almost does die and Violet has to save her with her brain power.
Brain power.
She can't get out of the car seat, but she turns around and shoots the venom with the exploding. Well,
Brain
the venom's like
blast.
kicking Rhea. It's looking a mess. She shoots the venom with the exploding arrow as Tyrion belly rolls and the venom falls off of them and explodes. Rhea hops back to Fergie and she is A-okay.
How did you say that?
Fergie?
You don't say it, Fergie. I said it Fergie like Fergie Ferg.
Okay, I can't remember.
Fergie.
This is probably
Fergalicious.
I don't remember if I heard this somewhere, but I thought it was Fier.
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
This is a Chad situation because I don't know. That's how it's not spelled.
Yeah,
that, but
I did say it the way that you say it, Ellie, but every now and then I'm like, not Fergie. Actually, now, how'd you say it? Fergie.
I don't know. Keep going. I'm sorry. That wasn't me trying to call you call you out or throw you in a bus or anything. I legit was like, I thought I
can't get me. I'm like Neo in the Matrix, just like dodging the bullets. You'll never hit me. Next, Riddick and Sawyer are in the hot seat. A wyvern bites. This was okay. I'm not even gonna lie to you right now. A lot of this got fuzzy because a lot of was happening, and again, it was 6 pages, and I tried to sum this up as best I could. Even reading it again, I was like, what the freak? I don't know. So here we go. This is Ellie's interpretation. It's loose. Just the disclaimer. A wyvern bites Sawyer and rips him off
his dragon. His Swedish dragon, because that's what I know. Dragon. I know all the names are Gaelic, but that looks Swedish.
That one's really hard for me. The wyvern rips off the lower half of his leg. Then another wyvern, I think, or maybe the same one, is biting Atrum, which is Riddick's dragon, and they cannot get it off. So Violet is like, I got you. She cuts off her seatbelt and jumps to Atrum's back. And then the battle goes on. Things get a little fuzzy. I did write this in the notes. But it ultimately ends with them shooting an exploding arrow at the wyvern, jumping off the back of a dragon. I believe it's Sisliag. Somehow they got there. And then Taryn catches them. So, as long as we're all okay with that, we can move on.
We'll roll with it.
We're just going to let it slide.
We're going to let it slide.
My humble apologies to anyone listening. I tried my best, honestly.
Please comment. We got for the first time when we're like, hey, like let us know if we're wrong, whatever. Someone did on YouTube told us we couldn't remember why Dyer owed Violet a favor, but it was because they reminded us in the comments. It was because Violet saved him in the RSC situation.
The NAV situation, yeah.
Here. If you can explain it better, please do, because agreed, I was fuzzy for me too, but I do remember lots of switching, snip snap again between the dragons and the
I think if I watched this in a movie, I could explain it really well.
Exactly.
Just
the movie in my head was fuzzy.
Yeah. It wasn't all there for me.
The CGI wasn't working well in my mind.
The Wardstone has been mended, but it needs to be imbued.
Wasn't Brennan like hanging on for dear life too after mending it? He was
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think
signed, sealed, delivered. I'm done.
Yeah, and Taryn lets Violet know that.
Yeah.
So then Sawyer goes back with Violet. They make it to the healers, and Violet meets up with Kat and Marin. She does kind of a welfare check on everyone with Taryn, like, hey, reach out, find out how they all are. But then is interrupted when a venom attacks them. Kat and Violet face off with it, but the venom says that it's under orders not to kill Violet. However, it can kill Kat. So Violet is realizing as the venom is monologuing that she's heard these things before that he's saying in her dreams with the sage.
Mm-hmm.
Again, probably which is not a real dream.
Brings me. How would a separate venom know the conversations if it was a dream?
I'll tell you right now, it's not.
True.
The
which is what
mic drop
the whole time.
The venom's monologuing because Kat is using her gifts to heighten his emotions, which that came in super clutch. So
I'm glad that
she kind of was a homie there.
Truthfully, if Rebecca didn't write this into the storyline, I wouldn't have even thought twice. But the fact that she had the forethought too just proves what a great author she is.
Yeah,
and that's my piece.
The venom closes in and sends Kat flying, then breaks the conduit. Nope, that didn't happen there.
What?
I don't know. I wrote he breaks the conduit. Maybe he broke something. I think the conduit was already broken when she was fighting Solas, but that's just my...
Is there another?
No, she got a new...
What are you doing?
No, sorry. I didn't mention this because I didn't feel like I didn't want the episode to be 8 hours long, but she does. All of the writers get conduits from Felix after that fight.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Okay, then
then a new one breaks.
I really doubted myself before I doubted you, and I think that says something. And then he wraps his hands around Violet's neck, lifting her off the ground. Once again, a Robert Parr move, if I've ever seen one.
Or Henry Cavill in The Witcher.
Henry Cavill.
We talked about
Henry Cavill in literally anything. Say no more.
Say no more.
Say less.
Say less, yeah.
But then a boulder comes out of the shadows, except it's not a boulder. It's Endarna, and she straight up roasts the wielder and then bites his head off. And I have had this in my notes for probably 8 weeks now. Number 1, how in the world was Endarna able to char this venin?
Her fire kicked in.
But none of the dragons can burn the venin. That's why they can't fight the venin on their own.
I don't remember that being a thing.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I believe you.
It's
I believe you. I just don't remember that being a thing.
Wait, so dragons can't burn venin?
Uh-huh.
Why can't they burn venin?
Because venin they're immune to it. They just can't.
Are they cockroaches? They're the cockroaches in the story, really.
They're the cockroaches in the story.
They survive the nuclear war.
Yeah.
You guys are making me really second guess things, but I'm like 99% sure that
we're ganging up on you
because I'm scared. Can dragons burn venin, iron flame?
Rebecca Yaros.
Dragons can't burn venin. Only Endarna. And so we were like, why? So that's something to know. Okay. And also, it just bit its head off, which also seems like another thing dragons shouldn't be able to do. Otherwise, why
not?
That? Because why aren't they? Why do they need the humans to stab them with those alloyed daggers? Why aren't they biting?
Well, he was already
off?
dead from being charred, so I just feel like the biting of the head was just a Endarna adolescent.
It's just you a-hole. Like I'm gonna bite your head off now.
Just said, not my writer, not me, not today.
Yeah, not today, venin. I think that's a good question. I didn't think about the fact that
I didn't pick up on the fact that she burned him. I was more like, yay, Endarna got her fire.
But all of it goes to, I think there's more that we find out about Endarna coming up soon, right?
Yes, there is more.
Okay. I will keep my thoughts to myself.
Okay, here we go. Chapter 63, everyone. This was the first time Endarna breathed fire. We are excited about this now that I have...
I was excited, but now I'm stoked. So
just like a fire, but
yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Xaden catches up with Violet and Kat, but so does Jasenia. She tells Violet that she found the difference between the two journals, and it's 7. 7 what? We don't know, but Violet does.
Yeah. Nay.
All right. Don't say anything yet. Melgren shows up throwing a fit about how Xaden is his biggest problem and not saying thank you, which is classic Melgren.
Also, sorry, go back to Violet knows, but we still don't. I was sitting here waiting for Violet to tell me. I was like, all right, whenever you're ready, I'll learn.
Didn't think.
I can't wait for your internal monologue to tell me what I should be thinking right now.
You're literally holding like this much book left, like less than a quarter inch of book left when you're reading all this. I was
10
like,
pages,
I don't need to predict anymore. It's all gonna come out.
Okay,
I'll
20.
just be happy.
Yeah.
So Violet makes her move to pitch getting the wards back up rather than go back up and start fighting, and it's really now or never since the leader of the Venin has shown up. Xaden goes to battle him to buy her some time. Chapter 64. The hardest question gets thrown out with whatever secret Violet knows. She asks Xaden if he had to choose, would he ward Arisha or Navarre, because they can only ward one. And he chooses Navarre since that's where Violet is, and she is his home.
Men written by women. Men written by women.
I'm glad. I mean, Arisha's fine, I guess, but I'm glad they did because they did so much to establish Bezgaeth in the first book, and honestly, even the first half of this book, that if they had moved to Arisha, I probably wouldn't think twice about it. But I did buy a Bezgaeth war sweatshirt or war college sweatshirt, so I am glad that it's still going to be relevant.
I don't. There wasn't even a part of me that thought that he wouldn't choose Navarre.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, they're there. Yeah.
It just like, it was, I think even just simply for that reason, it's like, why, from a literary standpoint, so much was invested into establishing your familiarity as the reader with this certain region and this certain like specific location, that it's like, oh, I just got familiar with this. Never mind. We're going to just throw that in the,
I'm so sorry. My phone.
sorry. We're going to throw that in the dumpster. But no, I don't know. It was really nice
100%.
to see his little line there though, because, you know, makes you love him even more.
It does.
But I think I've said this already in this episode, but I'm going to now. It's poetic, and it will be, to have the place that duped everyone, fooled them, and made all of these, like, in our opinion, poor choices they're only thinking of themselves, not everyone, to stay there and then have that be where everything turns around. And then I'm assuming at the end of the 5 books, they're going to be a united continent with all starting in Navarre. I was just going to say the same thing, that it's like, it makes the most sense too, from like setting up the books to continue down the road that you know they need to go. Like, you know that after the very end events of this book, that like this continent, like the whole country, like it's going to be in disarray. Like no one's going to trust the leadership whatsoever. Exactly. It basically has to be built up from the ground up. And the best place to do that is where the majority of the people are, and staying in their homes. And it's like, it's there around Basgaia in that area. So makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Right.
So right after that, Violet directly speaks to Kodak, which was a ballsy move, and she asks him if he will power the stone, since Taryn's power was already used for the one in Orisha. Kodak agrees, and Xaden says goodbye to Violet, which was tearful. He and the Griffins fly out to go wage war against the leader of the Venin. So Violet runs to the Wardstone and starts to imbue it, and I really liked the imagery of that, because they took her training from running to this exact moment. So it was like she ran because she had not even 1 second left to lose. And it took, just a side note, it took weeks for 3 people to imbue the smaller Wardstone in Orisha. So I really don't know what they were all expecting with this, and I did not see this going well for anybody.
Agreed. I was like, this is a lost cause at this point.
So then she tells Andarna to get down there and start spitting, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I know. And we were like, what did you know? And if you were like me, I went back a couple pages and I'm like, I missed it, of course. Classic me. But I didn't. Violet is dropping all the clues that Andarna was giving her over the past couple years, such as, I am the head of my own den, and no one could fight my right of benefaction, or why the Empyrean allowed a juvenile to bond. Things that we all just kind of let slide.
But truthfully, I legit just chalked all that up to like the whole I'm the head of my own den, like the adolescent Andarna.
Yeah, like Violet did too. You were supposed to.
Exactly. Good writing. That's what I was just about to say.
So, quick note, points against me for Taryn being Empyrean. I'm going to call myself out here. Taryn didn't know about Andarna. We all find that out. But the elders do know, and the Empyrean seemingly knows on how Violet worded it and how Andarna worded it.
Well, then that's also on me, because the last episode I said something, I'm like, and Taryn said this, so propping you up in your theory that Taryn's part of the Empyrean.
Are you saying Taryn again?
I am. Taryn.
I don't. Okay.
Taryn?
Okay, you said Chad, so I'm not.
I'm on board with Chad, not Taryn.
I don't want anyone to get on me about saying Taryn on accident.
Okay. So here's the big reveal, everyone. Are we ready? All right.
Which big reveal? There's like 7 more things that have to happen in these 10 pages. The big reveal, let's go.
And Andarna says that she waited for Violet. She waited 650 years to hatch. She waited for someone as unique as she was, because she is the 7th breed of dragon and was left behind for such a time as this.
I am crying.
I was like, wow, minimal reaction, but I will keep the energy. Let's move on.
I think I was in awe because she's actually crying. She's actually crying. My lack of response is more just you're
like,
crying. I'm sorry.
Could you imagine someone telling you that they are the
I'd be
last of their
freaked
kind?
out.
They waited 650 years, but then they felt your presence and knew that it was time to hatch. How reassuring would that be?
You're right.
Like,
You're
that
right.
is so
She's right.
sweet. And honestly, I
Yes.
liked it even more that it wasn't a romantic
Yeah.
relationship, that she was like, wait, you know what I mean? Like, it was like you are just a great person and you are remarkable. And I don't know, it reminded me of okay, I'm not even gonna say it because it's not even okay. The feeling is the same. The situation is absolutely not. But this in The Help, when she's like, you was kind, you was smart, you was like, I don't know, that like
Pulls the feels. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was, just the similar, not quite the same, but just a similar.
It was like a warm
feeling.
hug in the most bittersweet way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. I don't want to get too off topic.
All right, she did it, everyone. She did cry, and it was a better reaction than I thought was originally happening.
It's
I
also
was
not the part I thought I was
really
gonna cry at though. So we'll see. TBD. I might cry again.
okay. Violet's mom
Here we
reaches the
go.
Wardstone room as Violet starts to burn out because she's trying to imbue this Wardstone all by her little self. The price of imbuing this will take literally all of Taryn's power, every drop. Yet she wants everybody to live. So I have a problem with this because once again, Violet is self-sacrificing, which is honorable in the situation that they're in. She wants all the dragons and all the riders to live. That's great. But she also specifically calls out, I want Xaden, Sigale, and Taryn. You have to live. Well, like, we know they won't. Like,
we
they
don't know
probably
that.
won't.
It's just a theory.
Yeah.
Taryn,
like,
Taryn will not.
it's
I don't
literally-
think
Taryn will not.
Taryn will not. But we don't know that Xaden and Sigale will die.
It is literally the biggest topic of the entire 2 books is,
But it's
will
not
all of them die?
confirmed.
So I'm like, why are you again self-sacrificing? I get it, but I don't get it. And I'm going to say it. I know we just cried because it's a sweet book, but I'm kind of tired of that story. Like, let's move on. Let's come up with another, like,
I'm just saying
let's
we
either
don't
not risk our life on our own or
Well, it is like, it's like double speak. You know, it's like, I want to save everybody. However, there's a really strong chance that I could kill the 3 most important people to me. Or not people, I guess. 2 of them are dragons, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I get
they're
it.
people.
Yeah.
They're people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, to me, it's I get it, but it's not confirmed. Taryn absolutely won't survive losing another dragon. We know he for sure would die, but we don't know that about Sigale and Xaden. So
It's just, to me, if this is going to be an issue, then have it be at someone else's hand that they're going to kill Violet and then she's scared that she's going to lose everybody and
Yeah.
the chain
Right.
reaction will go off. Not
Here's-
Violet once again self-sacrificing.
here's
Right.
though,
That's where I'm losing it.
if I'm gonna lose it anywhere for this, now that I'm thinking about it, for me it would be more so in the fact that she just learned that Andarna waited 650 years
Yes.
for her.
That too.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
a
for her
good
to be like,
point.
oh, let me
Sweet.
die.
But but
You
she
waited
could
that
have
long
also
for me?
she
Deuces.
could have also been thinking like she was waiting for me to be a strong enough person to do this.
I guess that's true,
But that's not how the thought process went in the book.
That's
So
not how it came across.
No.
Imagine
no,
if you
it's
just
not.
told someone, I have waited forever for you, and they're like,
I'm gonna go die
"See
now.
ya," and
To
you're just
die.
like,
Thank you. I'm going to go kill myself
You're
for
that
you.
meme of that guy.
I'm gonna kill myself. Okay.
That's really nice. I'm gonna
So-
go kill myself.
Violet's mom pushes in by having Sloane siphon her power, her weather controlling power, and imbue the stone in place of Violet. Violet is also catching glimpses of how Xaden's doing through his eyes, and it is not good. Violet's mom says that there's nothing I wouldn't do to keep you
Wait,
safe.
I feel like we just really glossed over
Yeah, go ahead.
the
What
fact
Sloane
that
was
she
doing.
No. The fact that she was able to see glimpses of how Xaden was doing through his eyes.
Well, it's like the second time she's been able to do that.
Mhm.
I know. Just saying we're talking
Would you like to
theories.
add on?
No. I'm just saying we're talking theories.
Oh, I
That's
have
all.
a theory on this.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you
Oh,
do.
I have something on that.
That
Yes.
doesn't surprise
Okay.
me. Okay.
We'll circle back, everyone.
Oh, I have lots of
So
circling
Violet's
to
mom
do.
says there's nothing I wouldn't do to keep you all safe. Everything was to get you all to this moment, like you all as in her and her siblings. And Violet's everything she dreamed that she would be. All 3 of them were everything that she dreamed they would be. So As she says that, Mira makes it in just after Lilith Sorrengail takes her last breath, pouring all her power into the stone. And Violet is numb.
I was weeping.
Oh, I weeped at this part
reading
too.
This part, because also I knew something insane, just how everyone. I finished. So what? It came out on November 7th. I think I finished this book on like the 10th or something. Like, it was pretty quickly after it came out, but a lot of people finished it the day it came out.
I don't know how.
And so I knew from the internet that the ending was just like, couldn't even handle it. But I think I was crying so hard because I was not expecting this to be the way that it didn't totally end, I guess. I don't know. But like, if there was going to be a sacrifice, I figured it would be a romantic one. And again, I'm glad it wasn't, because it just made it so much more real.
Impactful.
And I'm glad that Xaden's not dead. But or at least at this, whatever. But oh man, I think, and it got me too. I just, like, her mom had finally been humanized throughout all these books, and I think it made me think of my mom, and I love my mom so much, but I also have a really like weird relationship with my dad. Like, it was growing up and everything, it was just different. So I can relate, if I think of both of them at the same time, I can relate to Violet in like having a super odd relationship with her mom, and like not always seeing eye to eye, and honestly sometimes even kind of hating her, but then like still like being like, this is my mom, and like I still don't want her to die, but then at the same time thinking of my mom that I have a great relationship with and like that I love to death, and then imagining putting myself in those shoes. I don't know. I was a mess because of all of those things. All of the above.
I think another reason why this felt so heavy too was because it was Sloane who she had, like, Sloane was taking the power. Like, how did it work? So Sloane was taking the power from her and putting it into the stone.
Yeah.
And so, but like, just remember how angry Sloane was at the very beginning of this, because who killed her parents?
Well, and
General
that's
Sorrengail.
kind of why she decided to help is Lilith was kind of pushing at her, saying, like, just remember, I killed your
she was
parents.
trying to
she was baiting her.
Had to watch.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't want to kill Violet's mom. I don't think she wanted to kill, period.
Yeah.
I think she hated General Sorrengail, and I think that she like now has this like respect for Violet, didn't want to kill Violet's mom, doesn't want to kill this person, and she's like, you know, I see you doing good here, and I know what you're wanting to do is good, but I can't kill you for this, like, I'm a child. And then she has her do it, and she, like you said, baits her of like, remember, I killed your mom, your dad is dead because I killed your mom, like, you know, like all these things, and it's just like,
your dad is dead because I killed your mom. I'm sorry.
And I'm saying it directly to you. But I mean, it was just like it was just emotion from every side, because you're seeing it through Violet's eyes too, who's like knowing what's happening. It's emotion, lots of emotion.
It's very emotional.
And then she dies. She's dead.
Pressure cried.
Beep, beep,
I
beep,
don't think I would
she
have
dead.
cried in real life, but everyone was like so sad.
What?
Devastating.
I'm not normally a book crier. I'll cry at movies because I think it's like the music that gets me. Real life things, I don't cry. Like, something terrible could happen, and I feel like I'm stone cold. I'm like, why am I not crying? I'll cry at the stupidest things in movies, though, or a song. It's more like I think the music that gets. But I actually cried at this part. I was like,
I cry at everything, and let me tell you, this did not fall short.
I walked around like a zombie at the end of this book.
Here we go, the Enneagram. I'm type 4. I cry with everything, and I did cry with this because I was like sad. But I really think I cried more because everyone was telling me this is so sad, but I really don't. I'm sorry. Here it is. Here's the general.
Here's the hot take from Ellie.
Me. I don't think I'm into this series. I know.
Whoa. Rewind. I know for a fact that you said that you were on other episodes.
I was. But here we are at the end of this entire podcast, and as we've gone over it, I just don't know.
I'm so disappointed in you.
I know. And I think a lot of people will be, but that's just my hot take. I've liked a lot of fantasy books, and this one's, it's good, but it's not great for me.
Like,
I'll read the next one.
Are you just being a hipster right now? And you're
she's
like,
being an Enneagram 4.
You're like, everyone else likes it, so I don't want to like it.
That's exactly what she's doing.
Because I do that with ACOTAR, because that's the #1 hot book. I love ACOTAR. I can't even deny it.
But I think the reason that you're okay with that is because you read it years ago. So
no, I didn't. I read it for the first time. I read Court of Mist and Fury for the first time this past January. Not this one, but the last one, 2023.
Best book ever.
I'm just gonna pretend like it is.
We're gonna gloss over that.
Yeah, it's just cute.
We're gonna let that slide.
We're just gonna cut that out. Chapter 65. All we know is Xaden is alive and the wards are up. They kind of just end the war like that. A little abrupt, but it was a good ending. Rhiannon and
there was
Dane
already enough emotion.
Huh?
Sorry, there was enough emotion.
There was. Rhiannon and Dane find Violet and are beaming and giving her an update on the squad and the battle. Everyone's alive and they're okay-ish. Sawyer has half a leg, but he's okay. Violet,
but his heart's still beating.
Violet needs to lay eyes on Taryn and Xaden. Taryn meets up with her and Violet insists that he and Indarna have a little catch-up sesh. I also think that was needed.
Agreed.
Violet approaches Sigale, and Sigale tells her that she fought well today and to be careful of her words to Xaden. Did you think anything of that?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I was still reeling from her mom dying, and I don't even know if I could see the words on the page.
She's just hitting us with the 1-2. So
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
A little bit more than 1 and 2.
So true. So Xaden is standing over the edge of a ravine and tells Violet that he killed the sage and that he's so sorry that her mother died and he would never want anyone to die that she loved or cared about. But then he tells her that she should stay in Navarre within the wards. And she asks he's like, there's scary things out there. She says, well, what should I be so scared of? And he looks at her with red rings around his eyes and says she should be scared of him. And that is how the book ends prior to Xaden's point of view. Please let me finish.
So sorry.
Like, even now, I knew that was coming. I have chills over my whole body. I was not expecting that.
No, me either. Not at all.
Also
at all.
Didn't love it.
This was a jump scare for me.
Oh,
this was crazy.
I love this.
I think for me, I'm reeling from everything that just happened in the last chapter.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I can't take any more of this right now.
Mm-hmm.
The wounds are too fresh. Rebecca, give me a moment. That's kind of, I think.
That's why I think it, but that's why I think it was smart. I honestly think, because you don't expect that. You're like, oh my gosh, it was just this huge build up to the end of this battle. Her mom sacrifices herself. She dies. And you're like, you're reeling from emotion that you're like, there's only 2 chapters left. You know, it's got to be smooth sailing from here. And then you're like,
I didn't expect the book to not end on a cliffhanger though. So like, I knew something was coming, but I just needed it to not. I needed a moment.
I liked how unexpected it was.
Wait 3 months to release the last 2 chapters.
I'm pissed about it. I'm really pissed about it because obviously I don't want him to be Venom. But I'm like, at the same time, genius.
Genius.
And my thought.
I did think it was a really unpredictable ending that left everyone kind of just like, you're freaking joking me. No way. So it's like, I thought that was really good.
I liked it and I thought it was unpredictable. I'm comparing everything to ACOTAR, but it was unpredictable in the way that I feel like this is setting. I didn't know where the book series was going. Not that I was like, oh, where is she even going to take this? But I was just like, I was just kind of going along with it. I'm like, cool, we'll just see what happens. Now my mind is reeling of like all the different possibilities that could come because he's Venom. I'm like, it made me look back at other things and other theories that I had that I was like, oh, maybe I need to rethink that because I thought it was very black and white, you know, who was good and who was bad and how they came to be. And now I'm like, it makes me question all of it because I'm like, you're not going to make me love this man for 2 whole books and then just throw him in the, actually he sucks now. So we're just going to, you know, she's going to love Dane. You know, I'm okay with Dane being good. I'm not okay with her loving him.
I guess if it's Dane, we riot at dawn.
We riot
at dawn. That's
instead of
funny.
ride.
But I like this because I feel like it makes me like sit here and really anticipate the next 3 books because I'm like, I don't even know what could happen. Like now this isn't even in the realm of possibility. Yes. Exactly. Like this wasn't even like what I thought was in the realm of possibility, but it makes me, as a minute ago I said, I bring things back to ACOTAR all the time. That's how I felt at the very end of A Court of Mist and Fury, when all of a sudden Elaine and Nesta are thrown into the cauldron. And I was like, what the butt? Like, what the butt? Like, where did that come? What happens to them? Like, and it was just like, oh, and then, it was just one of those things that I wasn't expecting, or like.
I agree, because honestly, I mean, I want to get back into this, but speaking on the situation with Nessa and Elaine, I was like, they're old news. Like, why are they still in this? But now they're back to being relevant because they're in it.
Yeah, that's how so it was just one of those things that it's like, I didn't even consider it a possibility that something like that could happen. And then all of a sudden I'm like,
until it was.
It just opened up this new side of my brain that I was like, oh, wow. Theoryville.
Yes.
I like to call it.
In the wise words of the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast, it wasn't until it was.
But it was. No. But yes.
But yes. So then we get Xaden's POV, and I'll get through this, and I'm just going to listen to all your theories. Yep. So Xaden's point of view from when he was fighting with the Sage. He's nearing burnout, and we find out that the Venin wasn't necessarily the Sage, but the General. I don't really know the difference. Maybe the General is more powerful.
They kind of explained like their hierarchy.
How does it work?
There's like, I can't remember what the lowest one is
just like called. The Dark Wielder.
Yeah, like,
or the all
there's like a mage. I know that's not it, but like something like that is like, and that's the.
I remember them talking about it, but just like.
That's
how
the
was I just a girl to keep up with that?
That was the level of Venin that stabbed her at the end of Fourth Ring. And then there's Sage is right above her. And then there's something, and then it's General. He's like top of the totem pole.
Is the one who's appearing to her in her dreams?
Yes, and the one that Xaden is fighting in this.
So Xaden kills the Sage.
No.
The General. He kills
Xaden kills the General. But doesn't he say he kills the Sage?
Well, he said he's not the Sage. He said he's the General.
I think Xaden keeps referring to him. I'd have to go back and read this part. I don't remember, but I think
where I get confused.
if he's still referring to him as the Sage, it's just because that's how Xaden knew. He didn't find out until this moment that he wasn't. So it's like when you call someone a name, you find out that's not their name, but that's how you know them as.
I'm like trying to think of it in like, because we have the handy dandy.
There was a guy in college that his like, my name is Elon, and I called him Elon. For 2 whole semesters, we had gym in college together.
You took gym in college?
Yeah, I had to.
What? We went to the same college. Why did you have to?
I don't know if you remember, I didn't go to the same college as you for 2 years. So
you're
one of those years.
College. You're right.
Yes. I had to take gym with Elon.
Was this Elon Musk?
At the end of semester 2... his name was John all of a sudden. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? And he was like, I just thought, like, I don't know. And then we moved on and never spoke again. And I talked to him every day and addressed him by name. So it's, I
wonder what he's up to now.
With the Sage in
I wonder what John Elon's doing.
Elon John.
I bet he said John, but said something and you just misheard him. Because
absolutely,
and then he never corrected you.
And like, if someone was calling me like Jessica for my entire life, I'd be like, "It's Ellie."
I don't know. I would get so embarrassed.
Caitlin Bergarello. You know Caitlin.
Yes, you've met Caitlin.
Okay. Anyway, friend of ours from college. Yeah. She worked at GCU for like multiple years, and actually she still does now. But like she worked in this one department. Anyway, there was somebody on her team that said her name her name's Caitlin, and she called her something like Jessica, like not anything similar. John, Elon, you can kind of see. Caitlin's like, she just kept calling me this name, and she goes, here's the thing. She's like, we're on a small team. She has to email me all the time. She goes, my
email says Caitlin. Everyone else calls her
and
Caitlin.
She's like other people refer to me like, she's like, on calls, like my boss, and she will be on there, and she's like, hey Caitlin, can you do this? And I go, yes. And she still calls me I'm making up Jessica. I don't know if it was Jessica, but it was like and she's like years this went on, and I don't think she ever corrected her.
It's not in her nature to.
No, it's not. But I was like, she's like, it was just at the point where I was just like really making sure that anytime I emailed her, I signed my email where I'm like, how do you at a certain point go past? Anyway, it's just funny. Yes, this happens to people.
That
apparently.
is bizarre.
Super bizarre.
But
back to Iron Flame. I'm trying to think of the Sage in the way that they have like
the structure
of, you know, here's the fourth wing. You have the wing leader and the executive officer. Then you have the sections, the section leader, the executive officer, squad leader. So I'm like trying to think about it in a similar structure.
I just think it's 4 levels
simpler.
and he's the top level.
Okay.
I think it's a lot
and
simpler.
and he had killed this person who I thought was the Sage they were referring to, but whoever this person was, that was this Venom that was appearing in Xaden's dreams that apparently was also in Violet's dreams too. So both of their dreams, and like taunting them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have thoughts on that too. But this is the person that Xaden actually came face to face with, fought, and then killed. But in order to kill them, he had to draw power from the ground and turn Venom himself.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Okay.
So,
the Sage, the verbiage of Sage though confuses me, and how, like, who the structure is. But
yeah. Well,
c'est la vie. Move on.
So then the general threatens Violet's life to Xaden. He says, like, once I kill you, I'll step over your dead body and go kill her. Xaden, that triggers him. He's so close to burnout, and Sigale screams for him to hold the Venom, but Xaden cannot. And so, last-ditch effort, he reaches for the power in the ground, and Sigale just screams out, like, you cannot, I chose you, which broke my heart more than anything else in this book.
Oh, yeah.
And he essentially is like,
same.
I choose Violet, and he reaches anyways. So, heartbreak. Xaden jolts up awake after that memory in bed and remembers that the battle is over and Violet's sleeping next to him. And so when that happened, I was like, oh, so he's not Venom.
That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, oh, it's just a dream. And I'm like,
until.
But then I'm like, at what point did the dream stop? Did he dream the whole battle? Like, what?
I know.
Actually, the last two books, the last two books are an entire dream.
Is Lilith alive? Like,
no, she's not.
He silently leaves the room and notes how silent Sigale has been since the battle ended, which is an absolute heartbreak as well. He goes down the stairs to see Jack Barlow and essentially just is like, give it to me. What's the cure? And Jack's like, you idiot. There is no cure. You'll only hunger for more. And the book ends with Jack saying, welcome to the family. I guess we're brothers now.
I hated that. I hated that so much.
Oh, we hate it. I have only one theory, and I will list it now because I'm just going to listen to everything else afterwards. My thought is, were Violet's dreams with the Sage actually Xaden's dreams? Because we talked about this in the last podcast, how Xaden, like, she could hear his thoughts. So somehow he's projecting whatever into her mind. Is she actually seeing his dreams? And
I don't know if he's projecting as much as she's picking up on it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, still, but, like, are these actually Xaden's dreams and not Violet's dreams? We know that, like, the Venom want her too because she's a lightning wielder and she'd be powerful, but I'm curious if, like, this whole time they've been talking to Xaden and not Violet. And that's all I have.
I've had that thought too, but then I have so many other theories related to why they specifically want her that I'm like, I think that they were talking to both of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some overlap because they do kind of seem to, like, share a brain.
And they are, like, weirdly bonded.
Yeah. But have they ever talked about human mates before?
Ooh, I think that could come up. Mates tend to be a theme, a trope, if you will.
We love fated mates. Fated mates. But so it's like the mates are of the dragons, and I don't know, like, if they've ever talked about in history. This isn't even one of the theories I wanted to talk about. But I don't know if they've ever talked about if there's been a time where two mated dragons have had their riders romantically involved. Like,
who's to say?
Rebecca
is who, but
so anyway,
as of now.
I feel like there's a possibility of there being, like, an actual mating of
human,
of them just honestly by default. Like maybe they could avoid it, you know, like they could decline the mating bond if they didn't want that.
If she doesn't offer him chicken noodles,
like if she doesn't get the Campbell's chicken noodle. But no, I think it could be like one of those things where it's like they don't have to be together if their dragons are mated, but it's like if they do, then they kind of share a brain the way that the dragons do. I don't know, because I mean, Sigale. I'm sorry. Sorrengail, she has like read or spoken into Violet's mind before too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I hope we get more
things to chew on there.
Talking to Violet.
Yeah.
In the next book, because she very rarely does it, but I really like when she does.
Me too. Well,
I personally don't care. I like when she talks to Xaden and we get that. That's what I want more of.
Well, survey says that might not be happening for a bit based on how it explicitly notes that she's been silent. Mm-hmm. So
heartbreak. Also, just want to call this out. I just spilled water all over myself, so